Good morning. Happy Monday to each and every one of you. Sorry, my camera's a little off there. Happy to see you. Welcome back from the weekend. Let's get that hat all secured. Got a new hat, and I don't know how to wear it with glasses, but I'm happy to be here. I missed you all terribly this weekend. I hope you guys got away from the news for a little bit. I know I did, and then I woke up this morning, and I had a whole list of shit to cover. And it's too much stuff to cover today, so we'll try and get through as much of it as we possibly can. How are you guys, though? It's good to see you. Good to be seen. Happy Monday to all of you. Johnny says, I'm here. We can start. Balls. Appreciate that. Asta Sophia's early, too. Said, happy Monday. Missed you over the weekend. Theme song is always making my day. As always, shout out to Bider, who's here, and somebody to help you put together a fun jingle for your life or for your business. Hit up Bider. It's great stuff. I know I get compliments on it all the time. It's better than me. I was just going to say, RDB Talks! And started off, fuck my head. How dare you? You like, I also want to show you another hat I got. Did I bring it in here? Shit, I think I took it in the other room. I'll cover it tomorrow. I appreciate one of our users sent me a hat. I'll wear it tomorrow. I'll do it that way. But thank you guys, as always. We do have a P.O. box if you want to send me anything. I appreciate it. We ended Friday with me crying because I cry about everything because I'm very emotional. And then a bunch of you thought you needed to send me more messages to make me cry. So thank you guys. It was very sweet. I felt I felt heard. I felt loved. And I appreciate all the kind words over the weekend. Friday night had I don't know. Do we call it a debate? Do we call what happened Friday night a debate? I don't know. What do you guys call it? Cheers this morning to you. I didn't think so. I thought it was one of the most disingenuous things I'd ever experienced. Let me just give you a brief. First of all, you can watch it if you want. It is Gaslighting Express. I don't know JG. I never encountered JG before. I think he had come up once on a live, and Admir was like, "You guys you'll have a good discussion. JG's good faith." I was like, "Okay, cool." So we basically told Admir to run everything however he wants to. He had some of our mods there just for the comments because whenever I show up in MAGA spaces, they get really upset. We decided on some topics. The topics were going to be healthcare, the economy, and immigration. Those were the three things we decided to talk about. And then out of nowhere, we just started like, we're going to do systemic racism. So I didn't bring anything. I didn't have stat. I didn't know his position. And what we decided is that according to his definition of systemic racism, which I conceded that by his definition of systemic racism doesn't exist. Because by his definition, slavery was not systemic racism. And so to get away from that subject, we conceded. Then we spent about 45 minutes of me trying to explain to him why you need the city's population in order to calculate schmurder rates. Let me just show you. I could show you what I was looking at. We were talking about Detroit. So he was claiming that they had that in Detroit they had like, it was like a 44%. 44% per 100,000, which was crazy, like a homicide rate. I don't even know where he got that. But I was looking at numbers like, here's what we were talking about. So his claim was simply that crime increases poverty and poverty doesn't increase crime, like it was the other way around. Just so we're clear on this, this is the homicide rate. We're talking about violent crime, and that we were specifically talking about violent crime. You can see it peaked in the 90s, like 96, there was a peak there, late 80s there, and it was at its highest in the mid 70s. I think it was like 76. And since then, it has precipitously declined, and their population has stayed roughly the same. There's about 600,000 more people in Detroit now than there were in the 70s. Their population has stayed virtually the same, And yet somehow when looking at this graph, I don't know where he was polling his numbers, he was saying violent crime, specifically homicides, were up. When so we were I was trying to ask him, how did the number go down if the population stayed the same? How does the rate go up? And he simply just kept saying the rate went up. It just went up. That you don't need population to determine per capita, which is a wild thing to say. Like, just if you do the math backwards, like if you want to find out in Phoenix how many murders there are per capita, I need to take the total population of Phoenix and I need to divide it by 100,000 first, right? Then I can get it to per capita. Then I've got to take the murders and then I have to factor that in. Weirdly, like during that debate, he brought up the population like 3 times. So it's just a weird thing. And then that conversation ended, I believe, when we were talking about black people owning slaves, and I said slaves owning slaves. And then he was done. He was like, "You said it. You said it. You said slaves owning slaves. You think all black people are slaves?" And then that was derailed. And then we talked about immigration. In which case, at one point, he said he would show me a video of white immigrants being perp walked out of businesses. And when he couldn't find that, he changed the argument that I said I could show him only brown immigrants being perp walked out of businesses. I went back and I listened to it because I'm like, I swear I didn't say that. I didn't say that. He was able to turn that, and then we argued about that for 40 minutes. For 40 minutes, he kept showing me non-videos of white people not being perp walked, not being chained to put on airplanes, until eventually we brought up some people a little more knowledgeable on systemic racism, and then he got sexist, and then he had to take off. Then he got booted for being sexist. So it was wild. Then on Saturday, I got a text from Kalel, and he's like, "What time's our debate today?" And I said, we don't have a debate today. I don't know what you're talking about." He said that Admir had messaged him on Discord and said we were going to do a debate on Saturday. I was like, "Sorry, bud, we'll have to reschedule." Now they're back to calling me a coward. They also want to move it to Sports Moms Live, which I said there's not a chance in hell. Sports Mom at least twice, but maybe 3 times, has hosted a debate saying that I agreed to a debate that I knew nothing about, and had somebody show up to debate me when I was unaware that I was debating, and then they sat there the rest of the day saying that I bailed and I ran. So like Sports Mom's not in the works. I'm happy to debate Kalel. We'll do it with Admir again. Admir ate a whole ass chicken. This is the biggest thing. Like, if you don't need to go watch that debate to learn anything. You can. You'll be frustrated. But Admir had a full, like, rotisserie chicken and a loaf of bread. And he was just eating, like, he ate a whole rotisserie chicken during the debate. It was phenomenal. He's just taking bread, a loaf of bread, and a rotisserie chicken. Was it a hoagie? I didn't know if it was a hoagie or a loaf of bread, but yeah, he had the whole ass thing, and he just eating a rotisserie chicken. And honest God, on Saturday, I went to Costco and got a rotisserie chicken. I was like, that's pretty good. By the way, rotisserie chicken from Costco costs you $6. Big can of kimchi, I think it costs you like $10. Really good kimchi they have there. Cut a slice of the chicken, put a little kimchi on top of it. You got a nice snack. That's what I've been eating all weekend, and shitting like crazy. I also want to tell you guys a story that happened because it's the cutest, most disgusting story that I've ever heard. So my daughter was out swimming yesterday. She had a great day with her friends, and she came home. She was getting ready to go get in the bath, and she was sitting on the stairs. And I was talking to her, and in the middle of the conversation, she farted, which I always think is funny. I laugh at a fart 100% of the time. If I'm ever in a place with you where somebody farts and you shouldn't laugh, sorry, I cannot help it. So I was like, "Did you fart?" And she's like, "Yeah, I farted." And then about 30 seconds later, she said, "You might not want to come over here." But again, she's 5. I don't know where she's coming up with these terms. It blows me away every single time. I was like, "Why? Does it stink?" She's like, "Yeah, it stinks." I was like, "Okay, I won't come over there." And she said, "When I was at my friend's house, when I pooed in the toilet, it was like," she's like, it was like sprayed the toilet and it's stinky." I was like, "Okay, all right, that's fine." So then she farts again. I'm laughing. And then she does this thing where, like, you want to make your parents laugh. So you push out the fart, pushed out the fart. That's not all that came out. And then she smelt it. and then it made her throw up. And so my daughter farted herself into pooping herself into throwing up, and I've never been more proud of my daughter ever in my life. It was a great moment. It was right before we were supposed to start this call with our research team last night. So yeah, she had her first shart. Dad's proud. Dad is absolutely proud. Not the first time she shit herself. I mean, that's happened. She is 5, so it's happened before. Not for a while though. Max says JG argued semantics the whole time, no solutions. Swish says JG thought system and systemic were the same word. Yeah. Why is this box so small? It like skips over that one. Charles, good morning to you. Appreciate it. Crystal says it was a hot mess. Concepts of wrong concepts. Yeah, that's basically what it was. If you hate yourself, you can go watch it. It's we do have it live. There were some times it cut out. I'm not sure why it cut out a few times, but it did cut out a couple of times. So the audio, I don't know if maybe Jen was editing things that wouldn't get us taken down, or it could have just been the person who was recording it. I'm not sure. Check messages real quick. All right, 10 plus. Let me do some math real fast. As a reminder, we do have subscriptions available. On YouTube, you can subscribe for free. Membership, we have options for that. That allows you to use the emojis, and it allows us to hopefully meet our goal sometime soon so we can make a calendar, which I'm not looking forward to. But Jen can come up and talk about that in a little bit. She'll tell us where we're at on our goal. Let me do some. There we go. In fact, Jen, do you have an update on our goal? Do you want to do that right now? I don't know if she's here or not. I think I'm in the VC. I am in the VC. Okay. No worries, Jen. You can come up whenever.
Yeah. Do you have a camera in my house somewhere? Like when I walk away from the computer for like half a second where I'm like, run to the kitchen and grab something, and you're like, hey, Jen, you want to come in right now?
Yeah, 100%.
I swear to God, you do.
No, I do. Yeah.
Creepy. All right. Sweet.
Sorry about that.
So, Twitch, we currently have 178 subs. YouTube, we got
growing on
207. Twitch. It went down from yesterday. So if you're, I don't know if you canceled your sub or if it expired. I don't know how that works. But so we're sitting at 385, 123 left for the calendar.
All right. There we go.
And then Discord, you can, any mod can send you a link to get in there if you want, or you can DM me, Jen, JENN, DUBB, #1 on Discord. And the gift goal is current. So yeah, 277. We got till 1 o'clock to hit that. If you guys could help us out, knock that out before the end of the show. That helps us because this is our job. So
thank you for the gifted subs there too, Amber. Did you have a good weekend, Jen? We didn't discuss it. We didn't even talk until like last night.
In general, yeah, I kind of just chilled out. I was exhausted, to be honest, after Friday.
Why? Because you had to sit there. You had to sit there while a grown man cried, and it's exhausting when you see other people experience emotions. Is that what happened?
No, I meant like Friday night. You having emotions during the day. I've been deferent to those feelings.
Jen got mad. Jen got mad during the debate. Jen wasn't having it. So if you like Jen getting mad, which doesn't happen often, you might want to just check towards the end. That was pretty good.
I mean, I get mad often, but like where I get pissed off, where my face gets hot, my ears get hot, that doesn't typically happen. So yeah, no, he wouldn't shut the fuck up and was talking over you nonstop, and so I don't come up to debate, and I'm not trying to hang out for any period of time. It's like, shut the fuck up, you chode. And then he wouldn't shut up, and so I kicked him a couple times. But you know,
there you go. Thanks.
So yeah.
Thanks, Sully.
Yeah.
Happy Monday to you too.
All right. So my grief counselor died.
Oh no.
He was so good, I didn't even care.
It's pretty fucked up, honestly. It's pretty dark. I want to talk about, I didn't have much to add to this today, but I just want to show this clip. I don't know. I hate Instagram. Why can't you just show Instagram on a full screen? This is California Representative, is it Charlie Huffman? Is that his first name?
Amazingly, Donald Trump presided in, weird and random ways, and we'll be burning.
Start at the beginning. Stupid. There we go.
This privatization of public education, but there's also a Christian nationalist agenda very much embedded in it. This has been something they've been gunning for a long, long time. It enables them to indoctrinate, to fuse their particular religion with our government in ways that would make our founders roll in their graves. So that's why I'm wearing the Build This Wall button today, the wall between church and state that Madison and Jefferson and our other founders thought we should have. But they are rolling in their grave today because upstairs today we had a national prayer breakfast where our statuary hall was hijacked and turned into a church service where amazingly Donald Trump presided in weird and random ways, and we'll be burning sage for months because of that. There's absolutely
thank you. Angel Face said thank you for the show. Definitely don't email hr@opm.gov. Nobody email hr@opm.gov. It's super important that we don't do that. Because look, they're doing legitimate governance out there. This isn't one big fucking nightmare where we got a bunch of morons who don't know how to govern or don't know how to operate our government showing up every day and destroying things. So definitely do not email hr@opm.gov. You definitely do not want to do that. CNN is struggling, and CNN is having a very difficult time doing something particular, and that is keeping up with every goddamn lie this president tells. I almost forgot about like the pace of lies that Donald Trump is able to keep up with, and he's accelerated it. And here's CNN with Trump's 13 biggest lies of his first month back in office. 13 biggest, like the biggest. You can talk about like biased fact checkers all you want. Go back, find me Fox News it's saying like, here are 13 lies that Joe Biden told in December. I don't think you'll find it. You cannot find this level of reporting on Fox News, mostly because Donald Trump is the first guy to ever lie about everything. Just every single thing. He's like, we're lying. It's what we're doing. And Maga's like, yeah, let's go for it.
Chief Daniel Dale is with us. And Daniel, on CNN.com, you list what you call the 13 biggest lies of the first month. We can't do all 13, but what are some of the ones that jump out at you?
John, there were so many lies from the President of the United States in his first month that I had a hard time making that list of 13, which I think is bananas if you take a second to think about it. I did make a list, though, and I had it done. It was edited, and then the President dropped in probably the biggest lie of the whole month. You've been talking about it on your show this morning. Listen to what he said about the war in Ukraine.
I think I have the power to end this war, and I think it's going very well. But today I heard, we weren't in.
Oh, there's the mute. First mute. There you go. It's going so good. It's going really, really well.
Invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
Russia started the war in Ukraine. This is obvious. It barely needs a fact check. I think the brazenness of this claim, John, is an example of a president's willingness to lie about even obvious stuff. Some of the lies on my list are about complicated policy subjects like tariffs, but he's also lying about things we witnessed with our own eyes. I'll give you another representative example. It's an example of the president's years-old habit, something I call Trumpflation, and that is making his inaccurate stories more and more inaccurate over time. So listen to how the saga of the imaginary Gaza condoms evolved over the course of about a week.
Doge and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza.
We identified and stopped $50 million being sent to Gaza to buy condoms for Hamas. 50 million. And you know what's happened to them? They've used them as a method of making bombs. $50 million plus another $50 million for condoms for Hamas. Do you know about that? $100 million for condoms.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So we went from $50 million in condoms for Gaza to $50 million in condoms for Hamas to make bombs to $100 million in condoms for Hamas. None of this was true. The White House had no evidence whatsoever of any condom purchases for Gaza or for Hamas. So this was quite a tale. I'll give you a third example on my list. The president has been repeatedly deceptive about the subject of birthright citizenship, the constitutional right he's trying to end. And he keeps saying that the U.S. is the only country in the world that offers birthright citizenship. In fact, that's not even close to true. There are dozens of countries that also grant automatic citizenship to people born on their soil, and you don't have to look far. The list includes Canada and Mexico. Now, you might say the president might be confused about...
I'd like to be born again, potentially in Mexico. Every day is getting closer and closer to we're going to go to Mexico. It's getting a lot closer. Except for now, I got to worry about like Trump sending private armies to Mexico.
About this, well, he's been making this same false claim, telling the same lie since at least 2018. We've been fact-checking this for more than 6 years.
Yeah, repeating lies does not make them more true. Daniel Dale with the facts this morning. Great to see you. Thank you very much for this hard work.
If you want to go, we can go to CNN 13 biggest lies. I forgot to do the quote, or excuse me, the link. We can go through them here one by one. Here are the biggest lies from month one. The tale of the 50 million, no, make it 100 million in condoms for Hamas. We covered that one. Blaming Ukraine for starting the war. Certainly they didn't. The non-uniqueness of birthright citizenship, obviously. More up is down reversing of the reality of January 6th. For years now, Trump has presented a version of the Capitol riot on January 6th that bears little resemblance to what actually happened. When he was asked in early February why he granted pardons to people who assaulted first responders, he said the people he pardoned were actually assaulted by our government and that they didn't assault. This "they didn't assault" claim was a brazen denial of the obvious truth, clear in fucking every video that anybody has ever put up, ever. The gusher of deceit about California water policy. Obviously, Trump doesn't know. He still doesn't know that water doesn't just run like north to south. Like north isn't just up and south isn't just down, and the water just goes down. He didn't realize that it goes westward out into the ocean at times as well. He turned on the water in the Central Valley for no reason. Lost billions of gallons of water that we'll probably never be able to. I mean, we're not going to make that up. So now farmers are like, now we've got even less water. He keeps talking about the 2020 election like he won it. He won't let that go. He's talking about Olympic trans boxers again, which wasn't true. That the boxer was not a trans woman. That was a woman, biologically a woman, however you want to phrase it. That was not a transgender woman. The fictionalized northern border. Trump casually asserted that the Canadian people like his idea of Canada becoming the 51st state. It's a very unpopular idea, so much so that Pierre Poilievre is like, nah, we're not doing this. Like even the far right of Canada doesn't want this. It blasted Biden for the frantic last-minute Biden push to hire people with significant disabilities as air traffic controllers. That's not true. He explained that there's an FAA pilot program that started during his administration in 2019. So the pilot program he's talking about, he started. Biden just kept it alive. Keeps lying about tariffs. This is the one I'll never... Like January 6th, obvious. But the thing about Trump and the Trump people is when they are caught in a lie or they're caught in an untruth, they've just decided that they're going to pretend it's true. And that, like the tariff one blows my mind every single day. Tariffs are paid by consumers. Tariffs are paid by the companies. 70 to 80% of MAGA still believes that if you put tariffs on a country that they pay it. I was watching Patrick Bet David. In fact, let me see if I can find it because I didn't put it in here. Let's see PBD tariffs. See if I can find it. I always forget if tariffs is 1R or 2. Where is the Patrick? Let's see. I should probably put Patrick Bet David. I mean, this is a billionaire or millionaire. He is a millionaire, and he still doesn't understand what tariffs are. Let me see if I can find this clip. It was on Fox News. God, he sucks. Well, I'll tag that one because we need to see that one later. Where is it? Is it this one?
Frankly, I mean, the fentanyls are, I don't know what that's going to do. And I guess they'll have a few helicopters flying at the border. I mean, it's not nothing, but they were going to get slapped with 25% tariffs, and now those are gone for at least 30 days. I'm not sure what's going to happen in 30 days. Maybe some other concessions, but I think President Trump saw a huge negative reaction to this, as I know you predicted, I predicted, from Wall Street, from the markets, from all the establishment types. Do you think he reacted to that? Or maybe some of his advisors said, whoa, we gotta rethink this?
I think President Trump is a guy that, in my opinion, likes to ask people, what do you think behind closed doors?
Yeah, that's the wrong one. It's the end of it. I'll find it for tomorrow. Patrick Bet David literally, though, just said, like, hey, if these countries are going to charge us tariffs, we're going to get rid of income tax and we're going to charge tariffs and they're going to pay the income tax. And now nobody pays any taxes. He just doesn't get it. They still do not understand. And Trump is putting in loyalist rich guys. I'm trying to figure out like the best way to phrase this, but I was talking to a friend this weekend about just like confidence and the confidence in which certain people say things. And specifically, we were talking about like conservative content creators. There's the one that Dean debated her. She's the one that said like slavery, like basically, yeah, if states want to have slavery, states can have slavery. I don't remember her name. I know she's with the Nelk boys. I don't know if it's a girlfriend or it might be one of their sisters. I can't remember. But I was talking about how like rich people and pretty people, or people who society views as pretty, like they have no idea if they're dumb. They don't know, because nobody ever tells rich people and pretty people that they're wrong. They just let them get away with it. And what we're seeing in this administration is rich people and pretty people, right? Trump rolls out Kristi Noem. Why? Because he thinks Kristi Noem looks good. Does she have a clue in hell what she's doing? Absolutely not. But is she confident in saying things that are incorrect constantly? Yes, all the time. Patrick Bet David, Mr. Wonderful, Elon Musk, all of these, Peter Thiel, everybody that they trot out, they're not used to anybody telling them you're wrong. And so they just say things, and conservatives, because conservatives, like it's all confidence to them. If you say something confidently that resonates with them, they're like, yep, that makes sense. Therefore it is true. I'm trying to figure out a way to like position this, but like Trump does understand. Trump does understand like visuals, and he understands that confidence and perceived beauty matter. And so that's who he trots out. And that's why they're so successful about lying about obviously dumb things. I am saying that the cracks are starting to form. I'm seeing that. I hate to say it, but I saw House and Habit is all over Elon's ass this weekend. The cracks are starting to form everywhere, and I'll cover a lot of that in the show. Shout out to, I don't know who, she's going to say her name. MVP of the weekend is this Wyoming woman who I should have written her name down.
Next up is Britt.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Chairman. As the Senate overwhelmingly voted yes.
You can call me Mr. Chairman if you want.
Well, I cannot be compelled to use your preferred pronouns as you have all voted.
Wait a minute. We're talking about preferred pronouns. A lot of people are. I prefer to be called Chairman French.
It's not a pronoun.
That's my preferred pronoun.
How come none of these people have like passed English? Like even when they try and argue, like my pronouns are fuck you. Yeah, these aren't pronouns. Like pronouns are a real thing. Pronouns aren't. They think that like pronouns were just imagined. They're not. But anyways.
I know, and you all voted that preferred pronouns cannot be compelled speech in SF 77. Anyway, my name is Britt Borrell, and I'm a constituent call.
Next.
I highly recommend anybody who's calling in to talk to Republicans on any of these types of shows. I strongly I encourage you to use whatever pronouns you fucking want. Just do whatever you want with the pronouns. And if you get any pushback, just remind them that these are the rules that they agreed to. We're not playing by those rules anymore. We do have to play by the rules. Part of that debate the other day was like, we were talking about immigration. They're like, oh, well, everybody who comes here illegally is a criminal. True, but I don't care. I don't care about felonies. Well, everybody who works here and lies on their paperwork, they have now committed a felony. Cool. I don't have to care about that anymore. You guys elected a felon. We've decided that not all felonies matter. So I don't have to care when immigrants commit felonies. And I don't have to engage with that point. If you say that somebody comes here illegally and they are a criminal, I don't care. If you say they come here illegally and they're a criminal and then they forge their paperwork and now they're working, I don't care. I just don't care anymore. If they're going to play by the rules, if we don't care what's true and what's not, we can't debate or meet them on that level. If you meet them on the higher ground, they don't know what to do. So from now on, we don't have to deal with any of their shit. None of it. I just throw it right back at them. It has been a bad, like probably the worst weekend I've ever seen for a single party out, like since Joe Biden had that awful debate performance. So this might be, this is probably about on the same level, where all of a sudden the own party is turning on them. Like the pressure from within is strong. The pressure from the other side, that never bothers anybody. People keep going, but the pressure from within is strong. And the pressure from within both MAGA and our side of the aisle to get people to do the right thing is strengthening. It's picking up momentum, and I don't think we should stop. I think everybody should bug the shit out of all of these Republicans. Non-fucking stop. You should throw what they're doing in their face every chance you get, and don't play by their games. Don't play by whataboutism. Just ignore it. We're not playing by those games anymore. We're not doing that. When you tell me that, talk to me about Hunter Biden, I'm just going to say, I don't care if people don't pay their taxes. You got tax cheats in the White House. Don't care. I just don't. I mean, Trump had to repay something like, because he wrote off the same expenditure twice. I think it was like one of his hotels in Chicago. He had used it as a way to offset taxes 2 times, and he had to pay that money back. Okay. So we don't care about tax cheats anymore, too. We don't have to address any of that ever. Let's see. Thank you, Angel Face. Here's Bill Maher, who is just... The great thing about Bill Maher is that every day Bill Maher makes more and more sense to MAGA, and Bill Maher gets further and further away from the left. Like, Bill Maher keeps saying he's a lefty, and I agree that Bill Maher has some leftist views, but what Bill Maher and TYT have done is they are completely hung up on trans people. Nonstop, they're just hung up on trans people. This is not different from when I was a Republican early on, and every discussion was about gay marriage. It's not different. It's not different in a couple of ways. One, there's not any real evidence for it, and 2, they're banking on this idea that people forever will be afraid of trans people. But the more open we are, and the more our society gets to know one another, and the more you go out and you meet people who are trans, you realize, oh, these are just people. Republicans. And so Bill Maher is like settling into this like, I know everything, and Democrats can never win if they just don't start treating trans people shitty. Here's Bill Maher on Pod Save America. For anybody who said Bill Maher, yuck, don't worry, we're not showing his show. We're showing Pod Save America, which is an all right show.
I think in most of America, they did that.
I'm going to say this too. I think Bill Maher was always dog shit. I don't think his show was entertaining. I don't think he was very entertaining. I don't even think he was that funny. I think Bill Maher has always been lazy, and he always found the center. And for a long time, like the center, he was aware of. But he's just kind of a drunk now. I don't think he knows what the center is. I don't think he's around people that are the center. I think what he's around is the hyperbolic political people.
Schools, I don't. But I think in enough of them, in enough far left places, they did constantly have this idea in the minds of children that maybe you're not in the right body. I mean, the New England Journal of Medicine advocated for taking sex off of a birth certificate, I believe. It was like you're assigned sex at
assigned
birth.
sex at birth. Yeah.
You're assigned.
I think that's right.
I was assigned it by my dick, okay, when I was born. Yes, and again, to tell...
Okay, see, this is... I hate that they get away with this, because the response to this should always be, don't engage in this. Say, why do you care? Why do you care, Bill Maher? Why does this bother you? Because what he's doing is he's projecting all of this onto other people so he doesn't have to explain his own transphobia. Flip it on him. Ask him. Don't engage in the, have you seen this study? Have you seen this study? Have you done? Just ask him flat out. Why does this affect you? Why does this bother you? Well, I've got kids. Okay, how does this affect your kids? Well, they won't have their gender assigned at birth. Okay, how does that affect you? It doesn't. I think we engaged in this incorrectly. What we should have done all along is what Tim Walz did. It said, like, that's weird. Why are you obsessed with this? Who cares? And if it happens in your state, vote against it. I don't know, but why does this affect you?
Kids, it doesn't always have to be and isn't always the default setting, but That's a different mentality than they put in the minds of kids. And that's why this debate goes on. And the fact that you think, or a lot of people on the left think, that even if you just have this debate, it makes you a bigot. You just have to roll
Correct.
over. That was, you asked about the Biden.
Correct. If you want to have this debate and you are on Bill Maher's side, yes, you are a bigot, because we didn't invite you to this debate. We didn't try and have this debate. We didn't want to do anything. We didn't want to discuss, are these people actually human or are they subhuman? We just thought Americans all deserve the same rights. And if you identify a different way, you deserve the same rights. Nobody asked conservatives like, hey, let's discuss whether or not these people are subhuman. We never should have entered the debate. That's my opinion. I'm not speaking for everyone. My opinion is we shouldn't have entered the debate. The debate should have never went to trying to explain it to bigots. The debate should always be putting them on their back foot. Why does it matter? Why does it matter to you that a person identifies differently as you? How does it affect you? That should be the debate going forward. We can no longer sit here and let people take us down ridiculous roads like this, because what he's doing is he's straw manning. He's saying, oh, well, you put these ideologies into children's minds and it's being taught at school. Where? Where is it being taught at school? Has anybody found me an example? They're always like, well, there was this book in the library. Okay, so not taught at school. Gotcha. Well, they said that you can't call kids by whatever pronoun you want. Yeah, that's just harassment. Like, you can't do that to kids. Like, at schools, you can't harass kids. Those are just rules. You can't take how they identify and make fun of them. You can't do that. That's where the debate should begin and end at all time. I don't think we should have the discussion of, do trans people deserve rights? Yes, all people deserve rights. All people deserve equal rights. Should trans people be protected for the same way that you and I are? Yeah, absolutely. End of debate. If they say no, say great, you're a bigot. That's it. You're a bigot or you're not. So he's like, you guys try and paint everybody as bigots. Yep. Yeah, you're a bigot. You're a bigot if you're debating whether or not trans people are human.
Administration. That was their position. If you even question this, you're some sort of a bigot.
Yep.
And this is new science, and it has to do with children, and it's not going to look good in the future, that position.
Can I just respond to something?
Now you can.
Now I can respond? All right. Can you just all right. Let's just do. There's a lot. You definitely said your piece.
Just say your bullshit while I'm in the bathroom.
Just stay for 1 second.
Okay, I'm kidding.
Unbelievable.
I'm kidding.
All right, no, I know. Okay, a lot of things there. First of all, this is going to sound confrontational. For a long time, people said, older gay people are recruiting kids to be gay. And they wouldn't really be gay. It was they were being recruited, they were being groomed, that they were being drawn. That was their conservative position. The Christian right position for a long time was the reason you didn't want to have gay teachers is they're going to recruit. That the gay lifestyle is going to look so enticing and so exciting that it's going to bring these poor defenseless boys, they mostly boys, into the gay lifestyle and destroy their lives. But of course, that wasn't true. Really,
let me say this. I think there's a little bit of truth to that. And I'll just say, the more I've done this, the more I'm exposed to different communities. I will say that every time I see from some of my friends who are gay, I see where they're going. I see what they're doing. I see the content they're sharing. I see some of the comedians that they share. I'm like, yeah, it actually is. I do kind of wish that I was attracted to men. That'd be super easy. I would like that better. So I think in some ways you're not wrong. I think a lot of people saw the movements, and you'll see this in the 60s as people you had more nudists and you had more sexual freedom, and then you see that over gay marriage. You see people being open, people being free to express themselves sexually how they want to. For those who can't do it because of their religious beliefs or because of their own internalized shit, that does seem unfair. It sometimes seems like it's not fair that you get to do. I don't get to do that. Here I am living by these rules over here, living by these Bible rules, and you guys aren't living by the same rules, and that doesn't seem fair. I think that's most of it. To be honest, I think most of it is people hey, I have strict rules. You should also have strict rules. And in my book, this is against the rules, so it should be against the rules for you too.
All gay teachers were an example.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Look, there are a few examples of people getting older and realizing that they shouldn't have transitioned. That happens. It's real. That's real.
Yeah, more than a few.
But there are also really important surgeries that people...
Relative to the amount of people who have had surgeries, it is a few. Like, it's all relative, right? We're not saying a few like it's 3 people, but it is, I believe, less than 1%. That's few. By any measure, that's few. If you have a percentage of the people and less than 1% of the people all have a similar experience or a similar trait or a similar feeling, yeah, that's a few. That's a few. That's fairly insignificant statistically.
Will get for their heart, and they go wrong, and somebody dies. And nobody says we must stop the cardiologists. No one says we must stop the surgeons. We say let's.
That's your analogy.
Well, my analogy is only that. Wait, let me finish.
I'm just.
Can I finish?
Yes.
Is it my turn to talk?
No. You're right.
And what you say is, let's make sure that this version of it is being practiced well. We don't get rid of the specific surgery. We don't throw out a whole field of medicine. We say, let's make sure we're doing it in a way that's healthy. The science, the research, all right, makes clear that, yes, there are exceptions. Yes, there are people practicing it in ways that maybe go too far. But for the most part, study after study shows that gender-affirming care saves... I'm talking. It's my turn. I was so quiet for so long after I interrupted a few times.
But okay.
But once I stopped talking, boy, I was good at it. And that gender-affirming care saves a lot of lives. And the truth is, we talk about these edge cases, talk about athletes, talk about locker rooms, but for the most part, what we're talking about is a very small group of people that just want the opportunity to live and express themselves. And there is a war on that group of people from the right to make salient extreme cases, edge cases, not for the purposes of stopping those, but for doing what the Trump administration is doing entirely, which is stopping all gender-affirming care altogether and making trans people fucking nervous when they have to pee at the airport, right? Which is the end result of all of this.
And of course, that's awful, and I agree with all that, except the part about the studies. There was a very big story this year. It was in the front page of the New York Times. A woman, I forget her name, and she had done, like, it was a 10-year study, did not release it on purpose because she said it would weaponize the argument from the other side. So in other words, it came out not the way you wanted the study to come out.
Yeah.
Not what you said, that it's, all the studies show that. No, it is a mixed bag. That's true.
Okay.
Some people, yes, it's the right thing. But to take that risk at that age before you know shit about anything, yes, sometimes it's pretty obvious that this should. It's a very hard call to make. And again, this was a very long study, very thorough, and they wouldn't release it because it came out with the wrong conclusion.
No. The reason they said it would be weaponized is not because it came out as the wrong conclusion. It's because the conclusion that it came to would be weaponized. The conclusion, by the way, was a 10-year study, and it included kids who at one point believed that they were transgender, and later on they're like, no, I wasn't. That was just like, I was a kid. I was maybe confused. That's what the study was. And it wasn't an insignificant number of children. I want to say it was something like 10 to 13% or something like that. That's fine. Kids are figuring themselves out all the time. That's what being a kid is. Thinking you are something or want to be something or are going to be something, and 3 years later, it's something different. Kids question their sexuality all the time. The reason that they were afraid of releasing this study is because it would be weaponized against surgery. They would say, look, you can't provide kids surgery because look at these percentage of kids who at one point believed that they were transgender and now they aren't. None of those kids transitioned. That was the whole point. The point was it's actually very difficult to have surgery as a minor. It almost never happens. That was the point of the study, but they were concerned that they were going to manipulate that data, which I've seen a million times. I've seen Christy on TikTok do it a million times before she seems to have been run out of TikTok. I don't know where she's been. But exactly what they were worried about is what happened. And he's doing it. He's doing the thing they were like, oh, they hid this information so people wouldn't change their mind. No, they were nervous because it was going to lead to more hate, and it was going to lead to more people not getting gender-affirming care. Not surgery, gender-affirming care. That's why they were nervous about it. And he's just lying about what they were nervous about.
But because it is a hard question, because
Right.
it is a serious question,
Right.
it is a personal question. I don't want Donald.
By the way, Amber, thank you for the donation. Amber said, check out Elon's interviews from the 90s versus now. Drugs for sure. Yeah. I mean, Elon's tweaking at this point. Like, he is a full-fledged addict. But nobody in MAGA recognizes it because most of the MAGA leadership are full-fledged drug addicts. Trump has been for years. That's who they are.
Trump deciding, I want parents and doctors.
Well, you just said parents can get shut out.
Well, I don't think parents should get shut out. There are rare exceptions to that. Look, we all believe that parents should have the decisions over their children, but we also
here's an example. Can parents discipline their children? You all, if we've got parents here, can parents discipline their children? Yeah. Legally, in most places, can parents spank their children? Yep, they can. Can parents beat the shit out of their child? No. That's illegal. Does that mean that the parents aren't allowed to parent? No. If the child is being harmed, if the child's life is in danger, then yes, you can take some decisions out of parents' hands, and this could be one of them. This could be one of them. If you have somebody who is going to do self-harm and it's no longer a safe place because their parents, for whatever reason, maybe their parents are throwing that in their face every day. Maybe their parents are ridiculing them. Maybe their parents are not allowing them to go to school. Whatever the reason might be. Yes, if your parents are leading you down a road that could lead to your harm or your death, then yeah, the government can step in because children also have rights. But again, they don't apply this equally across the board, ever. They never do that. They always just want to scare you with this thing that might happen. By the way, if you get to a point where you have a trans child and that child is taken away from you by the government, you probably deserved it. In fact, I've never heard of a case when it didn't happen. I've never heard of a case of a trans child being taken away from their parents where it wasn't deserved. Not once. I've never heard of it. Have you? And if we wind up with an example of a kid being taken away from trans parents and it's not justified, we should adjust the law. We should adjust the law to make sure that doesn't happen. But what we don't need to do is ban trans people's existence.
Recognize that some parents do such a bad fucking job that the kids are in danger. That happens.
Yeah, Tex, I've heard liberals even say Trump has never had a drink in his life or drug. Well, he claims he doesn't drink, and I believe that. Every account in the world says that he doesn't drink, but there's a lot of accounts that says he has used amphetamines his entire life. And as somebody who is prescribed amphetamines, I can tell you that there are certain things that you will notice in somebody who does amphetamines, and he has all of those. And it's pretty obvious that that's what he does. It's also why he has problems with his shitter. It's why.
Happens outside of trans issues. That happens all the time. It's terrible. Some parents are fucking terrible. Somehow the fact that there are terrible parents in the world gets erased on these questions. Do I think that schools should, as a baseline, be keeping a secret from parents? Of fucking course not. No one thinks that.
Well,
no one.
It's not trust me, bro, Tex. You're doing trust me, bro. You're trusting him. There are hundreds of accounts of people who say, I was with him, here's what he did. Hundreds. You can go look all this shit up yourself. Hundreds of accounts. You're playing trust me, bro, with Trump. Just like the other day, Tex, remember when I posted something about Elon's dad, naming him Elon, and your source was Elon saying, no, that's not true? You play trust me, bro, more than any person I know. You start with an idea and you go trust me, bro, all the way through it. And anybody else who brings evidence, you're like, no. There's more evidence that he does it. There's more. By the way, the fact that Ronnie Jackson was his doctor, Ronnie Jackson lied about his weight. Ronnie Jackson's handing out goodie bags to everybody. You're telling me that Trump, a person who doesn't do drugs and hates drugs, by the way, his son was a longtime drug user. You're telling me that Donald Trump is just cool with on Air Force One, his personal doctor handing out goodie bags of uppers and downers, and they just in Ziploc bags. He was cool with that because he hates drugs so much? Sure.
One thinks
Apparently that's not true. People do.
Yeah, his source was on Elon, on information about Elon. Elon's dad claims that he got the name Elon from that book. I forget what the book is called. That's Elon's dad's claim. Now, that book exists. The name Elon is in that book. Tex said the name Elon wasn't in that book, but what Tex was referring to was an English translation. It wasn't translated into English until years later, but in the German translation, there Elon was in the book. This was before Elon's dad was born, before Elon was born. There's plenty of time. Elon's dad says it, and he's like, no, Elon says that his dad said no, therefore it's not true. We probably don't know if it's true or not, but he was upset that I said it. I'm just quoting Elon's dad. That's it. If it's untrue, fine, but I'm just quoting his dad. His dad claims that's what he named him after. And his source was Elon said, no, it's not true.
Think that. And there is no perfect answer to this. It's as many nutty questions, the least bad answer.
And the least bad answer is to not
that
have the government decide from above. It's just to leave it up to people and parents and the kids and the doctors, right? You want the government to ban gender-affirming care for kids?
You want to lose every election?
See, won't answer it. This is where they get. You want the government to ban gender-affirming care for kids? Oh, well, do you want to lose? Oh, so yes. Yes, that's what you want.
Just keep coming down on the side of parents coming in second in a who gets to decide what goes on with my kid contest.
I'm not first.
No, let's keep coming down on you. Let's do that. Let's keep going after people like you. He's trying to backdoor out of this, and they all do it. They all backdoor. Like, I care about kids. I care about parents. How many kids and parents are being ripped off of government help now? What about the kids of the parents who were fired from their government jobs this last week? Do you guys? I mean, Bill Maher probably cares about that, but they're always hiding behind kids and parents. This has nothing to do with kids and parents. Let the kids of the parents speak. Let them speak. What, you don't need to speak for them. They have their own voice, and it's quiet. By the way, it's a very quiet minority of parents with trans children who say that you should not do gender affirming care. And ironically, most of them also have Christian backgrounds. Right. Let's get to this next one. Where did it go? This was interesting. I had to Google this because I didn't believe it. So I just want you to know I have fact checked this. This is what's his name? Isaiah? Is it
Trump?
Man, I'm having a hard time reading that. I don't know if it's a B in the middle. ISI. Maybe it might be NAKO backup. Anyways, Trump is apparently taking away police departments' ability to research the behavior of police officers prior to them coming to the police department.
Trump just ordered the Justice Department to delete the police misconduct database, and they just did it. Trump just ordered the Justice Department to delete the police misconduct database, and they just fucking did it. Do you understand how fucking... The police misconduct database,
say it,
right,
say the words,
is a federal database where the worst police officers who have committed the worst crimes, who have been, you know, in America, police officers will commit a crime in one police department or one state and then go to another state and get hired. That's a thing. We know that. Okay.
Twitch Lord, we're going to invite you again today, just like every day, to you're taking exception to what I say. You can come up at any time. Jen's given you specific instructions on how you can come up and debate these topics. You pretend that you don't understand the instructions. You message me, then I send you the link, and then you disappear. If anybody here, like if you want to prove to anybody here that you're not just a troll, for the love of God, come up and explain your positions. Like, we want to have an open forum here. We'd rather it not be an echo chamber, but please don't derail the chat every single day.
Federal police department database, misconduct database has always existed, right? That's for the worst versions of those guys, so that no police department ever will hire them again. Like the worst of the worst, the Nazis, the rapists, literally any police officer who forces himself upon a woman gets convicted, makes it to that list. Now that list is deleted, those same men, now that it's deleted today, those men can go and apply to jobs at any other police department, and they will get them. Ladies, maybe this needs to sink into white women. White women, those policemen that come when you're drunk and handcuff you, when you're really drunk. In New York City, I remember the police officer that forced himself, that took that woman back home and forced himself into her into her, when he gets released now, because of what Trump did, he can get rehired in New Jersey. This is a special message. Aisha, if you're watching this, you gotta, I'm serious, whatever we had planned, we gotta accelerate that shit. We gotta leave this country.
Yeah, give me a good to our MAGA in the chat. Give me a good reason Trump would delete that. What's a good reason for Trump to delete that database? Why would we do that? Why would we delete a database of police misconduct? What's the utility there? I don't know if Drew's here, Tex is here, obviously Twitch Lord is here. Let's I'm giving you a chance to engage now. What's the reason? Give me a good reason why we would get rid of that. I can't think of any. Like, honestly, I can't think of a legitimate reason you would get rid of that. I tried. I try and figure out what the MAGA argument is going to be. Like, even if I don't agree with it, I try and figure out what it's going to be. I can't even figure out what it's going to be. I can't even figure out what their answer is going to be on this. I can't come up with a single solitary reason why we would delete a database of police misconduct outside of loyalty. That's the only thing I can think of, is that people who have misconduct, when you give them the ability to not have to deal with the consequences of that misconduct anymore, they become loyal. That's the only thing I can think of. Yeah, you can prove that it's happening. Yeah. If you go, yeah. Let's see. I think you can go misconduct. Let's see. Here's his executive order.
President Trump has ordered the shutdown of the first nationwide database that tracks misconduct by federal police officers. The move fulfills a campaign promise to reverse police reforms that came out of the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, joins us. And Jeff, I know this database was established back in 2022 following an executive order from President Biden. Tell us more about how it was used.
So the creation of the National Law Enforcement Accountability Database, DD, required that all federal law enforcement agencies screen personnel, all of them. Now, the objective, prevent officers with a history of abuse from moving in between departments.
David Thomas has decades of experience working in law enforcement. He's retired now, but says he believes the national database tracking misconduct by federal police officers should be kept running.
You're just letting one bad apple move from one agency to the next.
The Justice Department confirming to the Washington
Tex just said, "Oh, it's related to BLM." Makes sense. See, this is how brain dead you are. Like, this is how in a cult you are. Is that you just heard the words BLM and you're like, okay, now I support it because I hate BLM. Give me a good reason. Give me a good reason why a database of officers who commit crimes or misbehave. Why should other police departments not be aware of that when they hire them? Well, it says BLM, so, and I hate black people, and so there you go. That's what I'm saying. Like, you guys don't actually have good reasons for it, and that's good. I'm glad we have it. The Tex had the courage to answer it. Let's see. Twitch Lord is still arguing with people in the comments. He's not going to address it, but appreciate it, Tex. I appreciate you answering.
Post this week, the database has been shut down by President Trump. The White House responding via email to the Post story online, writing in part, quote, President Trump believes in an appropriate balance of accountability without compromising law enforcement's ability to do its job of fighting crime and keeping communities safe.
How would knowing that the particular police officer either broke rules or committed crimes, how would that compromise their ability to do its job of fighting crime and keeping communities safe? And if you do need to lie about police officers, if you do need to protect their behavior in order for them to do their job, what does it say about the people that we hire as police? What does it say? Of course, it's about BLM. What you guys don't mind ever is when white supremacy gets a pass. And that's no question what this is. For decades, the white nationalists have been infiltrating police. They've talked about it openly. It's been part of their plan. You see time and time again, you'll see groups of police officers being busted, being part of white nationalist groups. It's what they do. Texas right. Texas a little bit right there. It's about BLM. It's about any marginalized community that they don't treat well. They want to be able to treat people kind of however they want.
Keeping communities safe.
His history shows that he'll do everything to protect law enforcement.
Patrick Oliver, a retired police chief and criminal justice professor, tells us databases like these can be extremely useful.
A national database on law enforcement officers who have been either decertified or convicted of crimes can be helpful in police hiring for those law enforcement agencies hiring people from out of state.
But the White House says President Trump rescinded the order on day one because, quote, he is committed to giving our brave men and women of law enforcement the tools they need to stop crime.
And the tools apparently that they need to stop crime are no rules. Just we got to get rules behavior out of the way. You guys can do whatever you want.
Now, since the database launched in 2023, 90 executive branch agencies with law enforcement officers in them provided thousands of disciplinary records. Now, the database includes nearly 150,000 federal officers and also agents. Reporting for the National News Desk, I'm Jeff Harris.
Yeah, the reason they're doing this is because they recognize that mass protests are coming. It is not going to get better anytime soon. Democrats will be protesting. Republicans will join them. Slowly but surely, Trump will lose power, and Trump needs to consolidate that power, which is why he needs the police and he wants the military, which is crazy. Like you guys are so racist that you want to live in fascism just so that you can like be racist, which is wild. It doesn't end well for you. It doesn't end well for the fascists ever. Never once has it ended well for the fascists. It always ends poorly. So look forward to that. This is great news. This is from Ryan Rosbiani on Twitter over there. This is
supporting a military.
Excuse me. From I'm trying to remember what podcast this is called. It doesn't say. It's called The Truth. I just can't remember who the host is. Here's some great news coming out of Israel.
2 years ago, we had 0 countries supporting a military embargo of Israel. 0, as in not even South Africa. Today, we have 53 countries that officially call for the military embargo of Israel. Intel, not too long ago, was forced, partly by BDS, to quit a $25 billion, with a B, dollar project near Tel Aviv. And again, BDS played a key role in that. McDonald's is suffering tremendously because of the BDS campaign. Again, 2 years ago, we had one university that ended relations with Israeli universities.
Now, BDS, just in case you guys missed it, that's boycott, divestment, and sanctions. So there's 53 countries participating in boycott, divestment, and sanctions, and it's crippling the Israeli economy.
Because of their complicity, and that was the University of Johannesburg in South Africa, obviously. Today, we have tens of universities that have either cut relations or are in the process of divesting or cutting academic ties with Israeli universities. In the cultural sphere, there's so much to talk about, but just very quickly, the most recent achievement is 7,000 and running publishers and writers have now joined the cultural boycott of Israel, which targets institutions, obviously. The chairman of the Israel Export Institute admits, quote, BDS and boycotts have changed Israel's global trade landscape. Despite the typical militaristic bravado, it is far from evident that the Israeli establishment wishes to resume the ruthless bombardment and massacres in Gaza. Israel's economy is experiencing what 130 of its top economists describe as a spiral of collapse, with an almost unprecedented brain drain, a nose-diving tech industry, and a credit rating that is near junk levels, according to Moody's. Increasingly seen by investors as what we call a shutdown nation, Israel has ranked dead last among 50 countries in the just-released Nations Brand Index. The chairman of the Israel Export Institute admits, quote, BDS and boycotts have changed Israel's global trade landscape. And
good to see there. Amber wanted to let us know Tesla's recalled for steering issues. Turns out they're pulling Reich. just news. I have not confirmed that bit of news. That's just in the comment section there, but sounds right. Sounds right to me. All right. Before I get to Ukraine, I'm going to bounce here. Crystal Ball. I appreciate what she's doing. Crystal Ball has recently gone to TikTok, which I think is a good move for her. I think that this actually fits like her style, and I'm happy to see somebody like Crystal Ball with already a big following saying like, I'm going to TikTok to make these types of videos. Now, let me preface this video first. There have been massive floods in West Virginia. I'm not a huge fan of trying to weaponize the tragedy for the people in West Virginia to score a political point. However, I do want to highlight this so that we can maybe get some answers out of our MAGA friends. It wasn't 24 hours before MAGA was repeating the lie that only the people in North Carolina were only going to be given $750. The exact same number was repeated in California. The exact same number was repeated in Hawaii. Why? Because that was what was available immediately, so they could go to hotels and they could purchase food and they had a place to stay. So the immediate funds available for people there was $750. And in all three of those disasters, within 24 hours, Republicans in Congress, on TV, were all out saying Joe Biden doesn't care about these people. Fuck, like all he's doing is giving them $750. They never went back and they never go back and correct it. They just throw it out there. They throw shit to the wall, and Republicans to this day are still repeating. I just heard Joe Rogan repeat the exact same thing, that they only got $750. That's why I'm bringing this up, because I want Republicans to somehow figure out how to answer this. Now we have massive flooding in West Virginia. Homes are destroyed. People are left homeless. And here's what's happening.
Abandoned some of his biggest supporters in the state of West Virginia. So look at this wreckage. This is after some horrific floods hit that state. They lost some 2,000 houses, untold businesses, just a devastating blow. This happened about 8 days ago. And so far, he has not signed an emergency disaster declaration to
8 days. Within 24 hours, Joe Biden had responded quickly enough that Republicans knew he was giving $750 in aid. He just had FEMA, like FEMA, when this shit happens, go. 8 days. Nothing.
get these people any federal government help. FEMA is not on the ground there. They are not doing anything because he hasn't signed this declaration. Now, I don't know if you remember, but back after Western North Carolina was hit with flooding, the Republicans were viciously attacking Democrats, the Biden administration, over their claims that FEMA was not doing enough on the ground there to help those people. Well, now here we are 8 days out. Trump has done literally nothing to help. He also is floating dismantling FEMA altogether so that there would be no help for these people or anyone else around the country as crisis and disaster hits. The Republican governor, the whole Republican congressional delegation wrote him a letter, made an application trying to get this declaration so that they could get the help that they need there on the ground. And more than a week later, absolutely nothing. I guess he's too busy renaming the Gulf of Mexico or messing around with Doge or going golfing as he seems to do every day. He's too busy doing that versus actually caring about these people who, by the way, these counties were some of the reddest in the entire country. These people overwhelmingly give their votes to Donald Trump. So if you thought that his attacks on FEMA were just going to hurt blue states and Democrats in liberal areas, think again, because he can't even be bothered with some of his strongest supporters.
He just has to sign a piece of paper. That's it. He just has to tell FEMA, go in and do their thing. All right, Twitch Lord is here. Let's go over. Let's see. What's up, man?
Oh, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. It seems that your chat gets very agitated when I pop in.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what you're doing. Like, you know that that's what you're trying to do. You can't be an agitator and then be like, people are agitated.
Well, no, not at all. I mean, you're kind of doing what your chat does, and that's try to mind read and try to claim that my only role here, or the point of the existence here, is simply to troll or agitate or upset or otherwise. And no, I like you. I agree with you on several different types of things, but posting, contrarian views in your chat, isn't trolling. It isn't bad faith. It's disagreement. And your chatters, rather than intellectually engaging in that, have to fall back onto like two of your mods. Last week, one of your mods ridiculously tried to slander me as a transphobic, and one of the mods today, in a very weird, awkward way, attempted to call me a bigot.
So you don't think
simply
you're,
for
are you
disagreeing.
not transphobic then? Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all.
So what led to them calling you transphobic?
Their own disagreement, their own intellectual disagreement.
What was your argument, I guess, that led them to?
Oh, I think the comment that caused them to melt down internally was that we can't trust doctors in the gender medicine space because we know that they mislead parents and children. We know that they lie to them. We also know.
Who should we trust?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure who we can trust right now because we've seen the politicization at
So what do we?
WPAC.
If we don't know who to trust, what do we do about kids that are trans? Do we just ignore them?
Well, let's not go deflecting and running away from the point here, right?
I'm not.
The
No.
assertion,
I'm trying to figure out. I think that
I
think that the reason that both the video I was playing, I was giving pushback there from Bill Maher, and the same pushback I'm giving here is what you and Bill Maher do is you point to the existence of something that is an outlier, and you say because this outlier exists, we should do nothing. That's why I'm trying to figure out what should we do then.
Well, one, I haven't taken an outlier, and two, you don't know that I'm just like Bill Maher.
You think a majority of doctors who treat trans children are lying?
No, I don't know that for a fact. I do know that there are doctors who do, and I do know we all know, all of us know intellectually that doctors can't properly advise parents and children because we know that the research in this space is literally all over the place.
It is?
Not only
what
that,
does the research
yes,
say?
it is.
What does the research say?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about.
Let's
If you're
talk about
talking
gender affirming care.
Well, okay, what part do you want to talk about that?
That's
Do you want to talk about?
No, that's a good
Do you want to
question.
talk about?
Wait, that's a good
Do
question.
you want to talk about
because-
social transitioning?
No, that's a
medical transitioning. What do you want to talk about?
Well, that's a good question because every time I hear
thank you.
every time I hear a Republican talk about it, they say we should just ban gender affirming care. I agree with you. But why don't Republicans agree with you? Why doesn't Bill Maher agree with you? I don't think I've never seen any evidence that gender affirming care is harmful. Have you?
Well, again, what are you even talking about then?
Gender
right? When
exactly,
you make
gender
that kind of
affirming care.
statement, I think RTP. I know that you recognize that when you make a comment like that when you try to criticize somebody for saying that gender affirming care. I'm sorry. Let me back up a sec. When you say RTP that you haven't seen any evidence that gender affirming care harms people, you know that you're being dishonest.
No, I haven't.
Because
I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying I haven't seen it. Can you? I can pull up a source.
Just
Could
in
you
that
point me in
statement,
that direction?
Just trying to formulate an argument that way. You know you're being dishonest because you know that there's
No,
a
I'm
broad
responding to
range.
Republicans.
Hold on a sec.
No, I'm
Hold on
responding-
a second.
Wait.
You said something. I can't even finish addressing what you
Brother,
said before you want to interrupt.
Brother, you need to calm down. You need to just chill.
Oh no, I'm trying to talk over you on purpose because you
I
do
know.
this. This is
no.
what your
I'm trying to
drift is.
explain. I'm trying to explain to you that
I know what you're trying to explain.
Well, I can't have the conversation with any of these None of these. I've never seen a elected.
How about you talk
I've
to
never-
me?
let
How
me
about
just-
you talk to
I
me
will.
because
I
I
am
called
talking
into you.
Now you're interrupting.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Yes, I am.
So let's figure out what exactly it is that Republicans are upset about. Because if you just say gender affirming care, I'm like, all right, well, my daughter's she gets gender affirming care. I got gender affirming care. What specifically is it that makes it so that we can't allow kids in certain states to even identify as transgender?
Notice how I called in and
Just
started
answer
talking
the
about
fucking
why your
question. Just answer it.
why
Let's
your
just have a
chat
conversation.
started losing their
Please,
minds,
please, let's have a
and you
conversation.
immediately deflected and ran away
No,
from it.
I'm asking you the
right?
question. I asked you a question. You want to talk
There
about
should
the
be
chat.
some unrelated
now
question
it's me
about
and
some
you, and
broad
you want to talk
category.
about the chat again. What is the harm? Where is the harm being done?
Now you're
Where
condemning
is
me
the
for
harm?
deflecting.
Where is the harm? Is what I'm asking.
Harm in what? What are you even talking about? You don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm asking
you
you
are
what
so
am I supposed to be against?
brain melted on this.
What am I supposed to be against?
Why are we talking about what you are supposed to be against?
What are
Why
you
are you not
against?
talking to me?
I am. Who the fuck do you think I'm asking these questions to?
I don't know. You're talking about Republicans, anonymous
I'm
Republicans, this
asking
group
you.
of Republicans.
What do you think I'm missing that I should be concerned about?
All right, so let's start from the top.
Let's
My
do it.
comment that I made in chat that caused your folks to melt down and caused me to call you. Or actually, you said something to me in chat that I missed. Your chatters told me you did. So I figured, okay, here, I'll call in. We can't trust we can't just leave it to doctors, okay? Because we know for a fact that doctors are misrepresenting what the research says. We know that there cannot be informed consent.
What research?
Now, specifically, research around puberty blockers, research around hormone use.
Let's talk about puberty blockers.
Well,
Let's
geez,
go one by
can
one.
I even answer the question
No, I'm asking.
before you just start deflecting?
No, I'm trying to narrow it down. So puberty blockers specifically. What do I
So
need? What
puberty
do I
blockers
need to know about
specifically-
puberty blockers?
Well, you should know that the United Kingdom's National Health Service, NICE Group, NICE, 2022, right? They released their findings quoting low evidence that puberty blockers, quote, treat gender dysphoria.
Okay.
Okay. That was about 2022. Now, UK followed that up last year, right? I think early last year, almost a year ago, indefinitely banning the use of puberty blockers.
But why?
To treat, quote, treat gender dysphoria, because they found it was in effect. Well, one, because of the low quality of evidence for its use, which is generally the case that we find. So the low evidence, low quality of research supporting its use to treat, again, quote, treat gender dysphoria. Now, that's just, you could say that's just the UK, right? But you can't, because we've seen multiple years of research come out of Finland and France and New Zealand and Sweden, etc., right? So all of, and while the Cass report catches all kinds of hell because apparently, Dr. Cass wanting to emphasize.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Can I ask you a question?
Hold on just a second.
No.
Hold on, let me finish the thought.
No.
Actually wanting to emphasize quality research.
No.
She gets bagged on for it, right?
No.
So,
no.
Any case, we saw there too. It's the quality of evidence that fails here.
No.
You can keep saying no, but you
Okay.
can't deny that fact.
But I can ask you to shut up so I can ask a question, which is what I'm doing now. When you say that puberty blockers, that they don't help with gender dysphoria, what do you mean specifically? Because there has been evidence that that puberty blockers do help with side effects, things like improved mental well-being, easing depression and anxiety, which means like going out into social settings, feeling more comfortable, lowers the need for future surgeries. It tends to significantly lower the thoughts or actions of self-harm. So when you say like what part of gender dysphoria is it not useful for?
Well, just as you had to qualify your question by saying we've seen some research, research goes in both directions. That is the problem with this entire landscape.
But it's not the answer to my question. My question is the findings from NICE, because you're citing NICE, and I'm looking at their study here. I find that your characterization of what they found is incorrect. So do you know specifically what NICE is saying? Like, here's the problem with puberty blockers. Do you know?
It's been 2 years since I read that report. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know when
No,
you read it.
I have forgotten.
Okay, so do you feel like you have do you feel like you have a pretty good grasp on this then?
I think I have a pretty good grasp on the
But you
landscape
can't tell me
of
what the
state of the
harm is?
research.
But you can't tell me what the harm is?
Okay, so now we're going back to what is the harm, and I think that's a poor way of approaching any topic.
What's a better
where you
way?
ask a better way is, does this intervention actually work? Not, hey, ought we in real time experiment on kids and then find out if it harms them or not? No, that's not how
we've been
ought to be doing.
using puberty blockers on kids for decades.
For why? For what reason?
Well, for different conditions.
Not for gender dysphoria.
No, not for gender dysphoria.
Okay, thank you.
I know, but
Okay.
what I'm saying, you're saying that we're just doing like it's an experiment. Like Lionel Messi, the greatest soccer player of all time, does not exist without this type of technology. He was not going to be tall enough. They literally put him on hormones at a young age so he could grow just to be like 5'6", 5'7". He was going to be like 4'10". and they put him on all, like they ran him through all these tests, they put him on all these treatments growing up so he could be the world's greatest soccer player.
Does that mean we should apply those same treatments to quote unquote treat other afflictions or other issues or problems, and then pretend that it treats those things?
If they are
No, of course not.
well, I gave you
If they are.
but I gave you examples of where they are. What are the examples of where they're not treating it? What are the examples? Is it doing damage, or is it just ineffective for parts of gender dysphoria? Because what I'm reading here, it says it is effective for parts of gender dysphoria. It may not be effective in other areas, but what are those other areas?
So again, this is a very, very poor way of approaching any issue where you're asking for the negative side, which is prove that there is no harm. Well, no, the problem is that when we research and try to develop treatments, we are looking for an effective treatment, right, that provides mental or physical or other sort of health benefit. All right, the landscape in this area.
Well, I told
is
you
all
health
over the place in
benefits, though.
terms
I
of.
just gave you benefits. I gave you a list of benefits.
No, you gave me some benefits of what some other research has said.
No, this is
And I'm
from
telling you that
is from NHS.UK citing that exact study. I also had the breakdown from the Mayo Clinic citing that exact study. So we're talking about the same study. You just seem to be pretty unclear. I think somebody read you the headline and you've been running with it and nobody's challenged you before. Because you don't seem to know what the negative
The
effects.
review found
What
the
are-
evidence
what
of
were the
clinical
negative-
effectiveness and safety of gender-affirming hormones was also very low quality. Any
Sure.
benefits of gender-affirming hormones must be weighed against largely unknown long-term safety profile of these treatments with gender dysphoria.
Wait.
The review said there is very little data on additional interventions, such as
Okay.
counseling or drug treatments, yada,
Okay.
yada, yada. And then they go into
it's just the unknown that you have it. So you're saying we shouldn't treat kids with this because of the unknown. Is that correct?
No, that's not all that I'm saying, but yes, that is
It's
a
actually,
component
I
of
just
what
want to
I'm
be
saying.
clear. It is all you're saying because I've asked for specific
No.
examples, and you've given me zero specific examples. But you did say the unknown long-term side effects. So it sounds like you are weighing the benefits against something unknown.
I'm not. Actual medical researchers are.
Which is a fairly well. First of all, you're citing NICE. I'm looking at, again, NHS. I'm looking at the Mayo Clinic. They have come to a different conclusion than you have, and I don't think you've come to a conclusion. I think you read a headline.
I haven't come to these conclusions.
Yeah, I think
I'm
you read
I'm letting doctors and researchers and scientists in the UK and Finland and New Zealand and France and Sweden
but not
reach
America.
these conclusions.
But not America.
No, there is actually research in America. That's Maher, I think, when I tuned in, I think you guys were referring to the New York Times report on Olson Kennedy, where for political reasons, research is being suppressed.
What political reasons? That research wasn't suppressed. That was a story in the newspaper. The research was out there. The research was not suppressed. Bill Maher doesn't know. He was talking about a New York Times article that they didn't want to put out. The New York Times editorially didn't want to put it out. The research is out there. I've seen it. I understand. Like there are side effects for treating somebody with gender dysphoria with hormone treatment. There certainly are side effects. There's literally side effects to everything we do. And I could be convinced if you could tell me that the side effects are significantly outweighing the good, or if it's even close. But you can't even tell me one side effect. So far, you've just said long-term unknown side effects.
Well, your misunderstanding here is that I can't cite adverse side effects, right? Because doctors and researchers say there has been insufficient long-term study to evaluate whether or not these long-term effects will be present or will be realized.
Just on
Your
gender
point,
dysphoria,
then,
though, right? Because we know the long-term side effects of being on hormone treatments. We understand those side effects because we've been doing them for 40
Well,
years. So
talking about hormone treatment, but I thought you were asking me about puberty blockers.
Yeah. So
right?
hormone treatments,
Okay.
puberty
So
blockers. So
talking
we
about
know-
puberty blockers,
but
and we
we've been
do
doing
know
those for decades. Right? Just let me finish. I just want to make sure we're clear. You're saying the long-term effects on gender dysphoria because we know the long-term effects of puberty blockers already, right? I mean, we'll get the longer we have them, the more we'll understand. But we've been doing that for decades, and we have research on that, right?
we've been prescribing puberty blockers, right, to precocious children for short durations of time.
I think
not
Bessie
under
was on
the
it for like 7 years.
not under the fantasy that we are pausing puberty, or that we are temporarily stopping puberty so that we can restart puberty when the child magically becomes more aware 4 years, 5 years down the line. We also know.
Wait a minute.
We
I got it.
also know
Wait. We do this in
as a
medicine.
matter.
Wait, but we do that in medicine all the time.
What in medicine? What are we talking about in medicine? We can't take what we do in other areas of
Sure you
medicine
can.
and then say, you know what, we ought to be doing this over here.
Sure you can. You absolutely can. So if you're saying that like somebody is making a potentially life-changing decision and they're not sure, like they've been diagnosed with gender dysphoria, which by the way, this administration is just saying it doesn't exist anymore. Like gender dysphoria is not real. That's their new stance, is they're just going to get rid of it, that it doesn't exist.
That's them.
But yeah, fair enough. If that's not you, I'm glad we're on the same
not
page.
me.
Okay, we're on the same page there. But we do this all the time in every scenario.
What is this?
I'm explaining. People are making a decision whether or not they want to transition. That could require top surgery, bottom surgery, hormone treatments. It's a significant decision. And if you're 16 years old, you may want to just pause your puberty in order to make that decision. Now, are there side effects to that? Certainly. Are we aware of what the side effects are of puberty blockers? Certainly. I think the argument that you're making here is that going through gender reassignment surgery or being put on puberty blockers doesn't end gender dysphoria. Just like the medication I take for ADHD doesn't fix ADHD, right? It treats ADHD. And so there are side effects to all of this, but it seems like every time we have this discussion, not me and you, it's the first time we've had it, but every time I have it, it's always about these unknown side effects that nobody knows about.
Well, no, I don't think they're unknown side effects. It's why we keep hearing about bone density problems as a result of puberty blockers. Okay.
Right.
In addition, the research is not all in one direction on the psychological effects, which is what you're appealing to. The psychological effects of using puberty blockers or further down the road hormones to quote unquote treat gender dysphoria. Right? It's not the research that exists isn't all in one direction, that it's always a positive result.
Well, I've seen no research that says being put on puberty blockers makes you more likely to be depressed. I've never seen any research that way. I've seen that in not all cases does it help people's mental health. I agree with that. It's not effective for everybody, but I actually haven't seen any research in any any significant data that says when you're put on puberty blockers, you're more likely to be depressed. You're more likely to consider self-harm. Everything I've read actually says statistically, and that's the only way we can look at it, because nothing is perfect. So we just have to look at statistically, is it better off? Is it more damaging to allow somebody to be on puberty blockers or for that person to take their own life? I would say it's more damaging if they take their own life. But
I'll drop it into Discord for you, but I've seen at least 3 articles via Ipsos, NIH NIH funded research that there were no mental, psychological, or physical benefits of puberty blockers on treating gender dysphoria, right? Now, again, that aligns well with what the UK has said. I'll drop those 2 or 3.
No, the UK said it. No, I was reading that. I was reading that study. That study says that there is significant impact in a positive direction for mental health. So I haven't read these Ipsos ones that you're talking about, but the first study you cited actually specifically says that they saw improved mental health. That it did lead to that.
I think we're looking at 2 different things, because what that was in part, the report that I'm citing is what in part led to last year the UK indefinitely banning the use of puberty blockers explicitly.
Yes, because
for treating gender dysphoria.
Yes, because they misused the data that they were given, and people.
Oh, now okay.
I'm looking at the study. You can't even cite a harm listed in the study, and I'm citing you the benefits listed in the study. Now there is harm listed in that study. There is harm, and the harm that they list in that study is basically 2 things. Here's the side effects that are known for puberty blockers, regardless of if you're a trans person or not. It's the same side effects. But what they also said is that it doesn't undo gender dysphoria, and in some people, they have found that they regret that decision. But what we didn't see is any significant numbers that say it makes it worse. However, we did see increased numbers of people who stop thinking about taking their own lives. It is significant. But this was cherry picked by the UK, and it's cherry picked in the United States. And that's why I say I think most people on this issue don't want to be called transphobic. And let me be clear when I use the word transphobic. I don't mean that you hate trans people. I don't mean that you want trans people to die. I mean that you're uncomfortable with it. So you side with the minority of the data rather than the majority of the data.
I don't think there's a minority or a majority of the data right now at all. That's why we have multiple national health institutes who are pulling away from this stuff.
Is there data?
Yeah. What do you? Okay.
So do you think the
what do you
data
think
is?
these national
Wait,
health
let me just hold on.
institutes are
Let me just
relying
ask the
on?
question.
Maybe they're like
I'm just
WPAC.
asking you
Maybe
a
they're
que-
like
I'm just
WPAC
asking-
and they
I'm
rely
just
on the
asking-
political
I'm just asking you a
ideology.
question. We agree that there's data. So in order for what you said to be correct, the data would have to be split 50-50. It's not. I don't know what the percentage is, but if you're talking about long-term studies when it comes
There
to
are very
puberty
few
blockers and
long-term
gender
studies.
dysphoria, yeah, we're talking like 20 years. You can go back to find some studies that go back like 30 or 40 years, but within the last 10 to 20 years, that's when most of the studies exist, long-term studies, and those studies overwhelmingly say that there are risks to puberty blockers, but the benefits, especially when it comes to people who want to harm themselves, are noticeable.
So two things that are happening right here is one, we have long-term research on the use of puberty blockers and the physical effects they have on the body because we've been prescribing them to minors for decades, right?
Yep.
Now that's an entirely different characteristic or component than evaluating the use of puberty blockers to treat a psychological condition, gender dysphoria, right? For which we don't have very many long-term studies.
Correct.
Not even gender doctors will dispute that. Okay, so that ought to be the very first reason, the primary reason why we immediately pause.
So we should
Wait a
just
second.
so trans people should
We
get-
don't have a lot of information on this.
So what do you
So
do?
we ought not to fast forward ahead.
Then how do you,
The second part,
how do you get there then?
Go ahead.
The only way to
Well, you have
the only
actually
way to
controlled organized research, which is what Sweden and Finland and the UK and here in the U.S., the professional organizations like the American Pediatrics Association, while they reissued their support for using puberty blockers to treat gender dysphoria, they also committed to a long-term systematic study of not only the research that we currently have, but real controlled work going forward. Because they recognize the lack of this real controlled scientific research.
Controlled? What do you mean by controlled?
Well, so one of the problems with much of the research, right, is we don't have a control group, right? We moved, and there's a little bit of frame here. We moved really quickly from watchful waiting, right, to the affirm
Wait,
first
how would you not?
model.
How would you not have a control group
Hold on.
if you're treating people with gender? I'm just trying to figure out what you mean by that. Because if we're talking about treating people with gender dysphoria, I'm assuming that the control group would be people diagnosed with gender dysphoria, right?
So this is part of the criticism of the Cass report is where Cass was trying to prioritize actual scientific research where you have control groups that are not prescribed a
So like a placebo,
medical,
like it would be double blind, is what you're saying?
well, yeah, that's what she was being condemned for in the criticisms of the report is the lack of this type of science, and then you have the ethical, stuff around it. But what you asked me is, well, what would that look like? Well, one of the criticisms of this NICE report that we're looking at is that there was no comparator group, so there's no way to evaluate, right, what the impact, what the effect was of whatever was being prescribed. So in the research that
You're
we
citing
have,
the CAS, right? That's what you're citing right now, the CAS report.
well, in part, I'm kind of bouncing back between the NICE report that talks about the comparator group, and is what they identify as a drawback to their evidence, and the criticisms of the CAS report, where they were criticizing the lack of double-blind studies that are out there. You asked me, well, what would that look like? Well, what that would look like, ethically proper or not, is controlled studies in which you do have a group of diagnosed individuals. Some of those diagnosed individuals receive care, whatever that looks like. Part of that group does not. and then you evaluate what the effects of that treatment or no treatment are, right?
Yeah, so
That's what it,
yeah, but this is
that's
just
what it
saying.
would look like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is basically just saying. I understand what you're saying, like that, and I don't know if a double-blind study exists. I'm going to take Cass at their word that they didn't have any, at least at the time when they did this, to research it. But again, I think you're still saying the same thing. You're saying because no double-blind study exists yet, we should stop all of this. And that's what it seems like you guys are.
No,
You
I
guys
don't think we
seem
should
to-
stop it.
you
I
seem
think we
to-
should actually
let me
research it
Let me
properly.
finish. You seem to all be alluding to some imaginary danger that you haven't found yet, and we're just supposed to wait around until you find that imaginary danger. So far, the danger that we found is largely the stuff we already knew, which is side effects of puberty blockers, and that's why I say it comes off as transphobic because. In no other world would like the same people who want this, like they're still taking ivermectin for COVID. A lot of those same people, despite the fact that every double-blind study that has been conducted says there are no effects of ivermectin on COVID. It is not an effective treatment. In fact, all you're doing is exposing yourself to the side effects. I'm hearing that same argument here. You want me to stop stop treatment based on a hypothetical harm that we may or may not know if it happens.
I didn't cite any harm.
I know.
I'm not.
That's why I said it's
right, because
hypothetical.
that's not my point. That's because it's not my point. My argument. I haven't put any comment into your chat, and I haven't commented to you directly as we're talking here, that my objections to medicalizing care for gender dysphoria relies on arguing that there are harms to kids. No, it's the fact that there's a lack of research of its effectiveness. That's it. It's a simple argument that we ought
So
not
what do you
to
think
be
we should do?
fast forwarding ahead.
So do we ban treatment until we have these studies?
Well, two things. I think we ought to return back to the watchful waiting model, which avoids the whole fast forwarding people into medical intervention.
Are we
The
saying we
second
do
part
that
is
on everything or just with puberty blockers? Because I don't think that we do this in America. In fact, Donald Trump specifically, one of the things he campaigned on is that he was going to go through and he was going to allow experimental medicine. That he says people are too trapped by current medicine and they're not allowed to explore like holistic remedies or remedies that are not approved by the FDA. So are you saying this is only for gender dysphoria, or are you saying we should pause? We should go back to watchful waiting for everything?
Well, no, watchful waiting only applies to minors who are confused about their gender identity.
That's why it sounds
Or what-
transphobic, because you guys you're taking an argument that you don't apply to anything else and you're applying it only to trans
Wait a
people.
second. How do you imagine this would apply to, say, cancer treatment, diabetes,
Yeah, it's a good question.
gangrene?
So I have a friend.
It doesn't. It just
no,
doesn't
it
apply.
does. I have a very good friend of mine. I'm actually very concerned about the health of his son. During COVID, he got hooked on these COVID conspiracies, and he no longer trusts in any pharmaceutical companies. Nothing. He does not trust in big pharma. He does holistic medicine only. His son has been chronically ill for 2 years, and they're only taking him to holistic doctors. They are trying things. They are testing things, and he will not take his son to a normal, regular doctor. It's only holistic. Nobody, and he's a massive Trump supporter. Nobody's trying to take his kid away. Nobody's trying to tell him that he can't try these new things. It's only being applied to people who are trans, which is why it comes off bigoted or
That's not watchful
transphobic.
waiting.
It is.
I don't see the relevance to watchful waiting. They're taking affirmative action to treat him, albeit failing and doing it in a dumb way. I don't see how that's watchful waiting. Or comparable. I'm trying to understand your.
Well, watchful waiting is saying that you're watching like a patient's condition and you don't do treatment unless the symptoms change, right? Is that your?
No, that's not the watchful waiting model for gender dysphoria. Not at all.
That's the model of watchful waiting in general.
Oh, okay. In general, go ahead, run with that. So, as it applies to kids in general and gender dysphoria. So watchful waiting was appropriate because we know the overwhelming number of kids end up just growing out of this confusion before even puberty hits. which ought to be the second. Hold on, hold on, hold on.
Percentage of those
Which
kids
ought to be the second priority, causing us to pause
they're
and
not
slow
getting
down.
puberty blockers.
No,
less
oh
people.
my goodness
No,
gracious.
if we're going to talk about, we're saying like the majority of kids grow out of this. Nobody is advocating that all kids who identify as trans should be put on puberty blockers. In fact,
I'm not saying they are.
they're always in very rare instances. So when you can't use the data that
Very rare?
Yes.
Oh.
What percentage of kids who identify as transgender are put on puberty blockers?
Oh, I don't know. Why don't you tell me? I haven't looked at it again in about 2 years.
Take a guess.
What's the number now?
Just guess. I can pull up the
Oh,
number.
probably 25 to 30%.
Let's see. I think it's way lower than that.
See, there's a difference between
Okay.
advocating for the use of
hold
X
on.
and the actual use of
listen,
X.
I understand. If I were you, I would run from this too.
What am I running from?
0.1%. 0.1% of kids who identify as being trans are given puberty blockers. You said 25%. You're not fucking close. You're nowhere near close. It's 0.1%. You don't apply this across the medical standard. This is why it's bigotry. This is why it's transphobic, because you guys are going after 0.1% of the people who identify as trans, which is already like, I think it's less than 1% of people. So like 0.1% of less than 1% of people is what you guys are focused on. That's why it comes off as bigotry and transphobia, because there's so many things we could focus on that benefit the American people in much bigger numbers. And for some reason, the right won't stop talking about this. And then you guys frame the argument as if it's our argument. We're simply saying these decisions should be made between a doctor and their parents and the child. The doctor should not unilaterally make this decision, and the doctor cannot unilaterally make this decision. The parent should not make a unilateral decision, and the
I'll
parent
go back to my
cannot.
first point,
None
which
of
is
these
we
people
cannot
can
trust the
unilaterally.
doctors
They
to
have
make
to,
these decisions
they
or to advise on
yes,
these decisions
yes,
because they
yes,
lie.
we can.
They
because-
misrepresent.
Hold on.
They
I understand. I
they are
understand right now.
pushing
You want to talk, but wait
an
until I'm done.
ideological
Please wait
point of
until
view.
I'm done. Please wait until I'm done. Thank you.
Oh no, we're in a
Great. I'll mute you then. We'll do that if you're not gonna
Blah,
if
blah,
you're not
blah.
gonna follow the rules. Yeah, 0.1%.
Follow the
Bro,
rules.
you said 25%. It's
Yeah, I was wrong on
Yeah,
that.
it's point
So
fucking
what?
one. So explain to me then how what you're talking about isn't just bigotry and transphobia. When
Wait a sec, wait a
0.1% of people who identify as
I
trans
will.
are
Can I-
getting
can I
puberty
explain it to you?
blockers, and I'm almost done. And out of that 0.1%, you have been unable to identify a harm that was done to them by taking puberty blockers. You can't identify the harm. You can't tell me what's wrong with any of this. You just keep citing studies where people made decisions.
It doesn't
But
work.
You don't know.
That's what's wrong with it.
It does. It does. Less people.
It doesn't. That's why
kids-
these countries are pulling back from
Then
it.
why do we see when kids are given puberty blockers, this 0.1%? Why do less of them
Don't see
take
this.
their own lives if it doesn't work?
Okay, you asked 3 questions in there. So
I
the
want
first, the
this.
first
No, I
one
only
is-
want this question. I'm going to abandon those.
Oh,
I
now
wanna
it's
know
this one.
question. Well, if you say it's not effective, then why do less
Okay,
people take their lives?
we're now seeing this is the great part now, after all these years of the suicide emotional hijacking that you guys do, we now see
Excuse me, what?
that young people, well, no, you guys use the suicidality of trans people as a way to emotionally blackmail the people you disagree with.
No, I'm using it
Um,
to cite a statistic that
I'm
got
just citing
better.
that as a matter
that
of
got
fact.
better with puberty blockers. I'm
So-
just citing a statistic. You can call don't
So
this
we're-
is blackmail. No, it's a fucking statistic.
We are finding out
and it
now.
got better.
We are finding out now that suicidality actually doesn't change all that much at all.
It
after
did.
the
It did in the
prescription
studies
of-
that you gave me. The studies you just gave me said that it did. So what study are you citing now? Because the two studies
No,
that
the
you've
study-
referenced,
the study
both
I
say
gave you
that it
didn't.
helps. It did. It absolutely did.
NHS says there's
The
low
nice-
evidence that puberty blockers do anything
That's
to
not
treat
true.
gender
You didn't read the
dysphoria.
fucking study. I read it to you word for word. I read you word for word.
Can you drop that
it
drop that
said
link in the Discord, would you?
Sure.
Thank you. So
Here's from
You
the,
want your-
here's from
you
the,
want your
here's from
answer.
here's from the NHS. I'll drop it right. I can show it to you. Actually, there's a screen right here. I don't know if you can see it. Here's from the NHS. I scrolled way down. Let me find it.
are you doing Discord or in Twitch?
It's on Twitch right now.
Okay.
Where was it? Treatment, hormone therapy. There's the risks. So I think it was above that.
What's also interesting about the NHS website is after that 2022 report, they actually changed their website in terms of their advisory or guidance on using puberty blockers for gender dysphoria. So that's why I'm curious about what you're reading here.
Is this the right one or is it the other one? Let me see, because I'm not even seeing like the.
Yeah, that doesn't look familiar.
Well,
I think that's just the main page,
NHS.
right? Yeah.
Let me make sure one more time this wasn't the right one.
Huh?
I'm scrolling quickly. There's the irreversible changes. I swear it was on this one. Well, keep going with what you're saying. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, so we're now finding out that suicidality isn't changing all that much after the prescription of these drugs. In fact, it's less than like a 1 or 2% change.
What are you citing?
But more importantly,
what are you citing there?
I'll drop it in Discord after we get off the call here. I have to go find it. After
oh, here it is.
I've lost my train of thought.
Here it is. Here.
Go ahead.
This is from the Mayo Clinic. This was their breakdown.
Oh, the Mayo
For
Clinic.
transgender and gender diverse youth who have gender dysphoria, delaying puberty might improve mental well-being, ease depression and anxiety. Improve. Yeah, because it's not. You say you say might because you've seen that it's not in everybody.
No,
right?
was that their word or?
Yeah.
I thought I heard that. Was saying it because I thought I heard you say might.
Yeah, right there it says might. Oh, you can't see this. Okay. Ease depression and anxiety, improve social interactions, lower the need for future surgeries, ease thoughts or actions of self-harm.
Yeah, so this might.
Yeah, that's based. No,
it
that's
might not.
based on the data, right? If 70% of people,
I don't know.
if
it's based on the data, you would include something.
No, if 70% of people have reduced thoughts of taking their own life, then you might see a reduction because 30% didn't. So it's not saying you will. This is accurate language
because
that
they don't know
use.
if it will or not.
Yes,
That's why they say
exactly. But
might.
statistically, you're more likely.
Statistically, they have to still say might because
of course,
statistically the data doesn't
that's
support
been
it.
this argument the whole time. Is your entire argument is a hypothetical harm that you can't tell me about?
No, I haven't actually expressed any hypothetical about harm.
No,
you
I
are
know.
the one talking
It's a
about
hypothetical harm that you can't even name. You just keep saying we don't know what's going to happen in the future. You can't point.
No,
to
I didn't even say that at all. You're arguing with a ghost.
This is recorded. You've said it multiple times. You haven't
No,
named a harm yet.
We'll look forward to you playing it back because you are the one who first mentioned harm. I said explicitly multiple times, I'm not arguing that there is a harm.
Then what?
You are the one, RTP, talking
what are you
about
arguing
harm.
then?
Oh my God, haven't you been listening?
I have. What are you arguing then?
Oh my goodness. The same thing that the UK, Finland, Sweden, France, and now even the United States, that these medical interventions do not work to provide mental or physical benefits to treat
what that said.
Gender dysphoria.
What
you're saying was might.
It said it
What the
doesn't.
Mayo Clinic said
No.
might.
It said it doesn't.
And they had to use might
it
because the research doesn't support your bullshit.
No, it said it doesn't get rid of gender dysphoria. It's not cured. Because gender,
And it's ineffective at treating gender dysphoria.
And I think no, it's effective at treating some of the symptoms.
It's
effective at
we
treating.
administer things to treat
It's
things, do we not?
effective at treating the symptoms, just like
It might
my
be.
medication
That's
doesn't.
what Mayo Clinic
just
says.
like my medication doesn't make my ADHD go away. I've got it. It's here to stay. But it treats the symptoms of my ADHD. Right. So what they were talking about there is some of the symptoms.
You want to argue that because it doesn't cure gender dysphoria, that doesn't matter.
Some of the symptoms of gender dysphoria absolutely do see improved outcomes when you have puberty blockers.
That's why your source uses the word might.
Brother,
might
if it's not 100%, then you should say might. If it's not 100%, you should say might.
Might no, you would say, you know what, in X percent of cases it actually works. You don't say it might
It
provide
says
these
it in the
benefits.
study. It says it in the study. It reduces it by 70%. It says that in the study
It
that you're
might.
citing. In the study, it says it.
No,
it says
you
a
don't.
number.
You're not actually looking at the study I
did. I
cited.
had the nice study up. It says 70%.
No, you didn't. You had
you're
you had
so
an
full of
NHS
shit.
website up.
You're so full of shit. You're just like every
Wait,
other
we just
fucking
looked at it.
Republican. Zero
The
sources.
page you had said NHS at the top,
zero
didn't it?
sources. No, it
Didn't
didn't
it?
say NHS at the top.
Yeah, it did.
No, it was
Yeah.
It was Mayo. It was Mayo Clinic.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
so wait, you
oh.
just said you were looking
I
at
thought
NICE.
it was
You
NHS.
said you were looking at NICE, but you were looking at NHS, but now you say you're looking
That
at
was-
Mayo.
that-
RTP, you're going to make your mind up.
That was there. I don't know if you know how this works. When somebody does a
Wait,
study,
I know how it works. When I say NICE and you look at NHS, but you say you're looking at my study, it means you're not looking at my
No.
study. Because I didn't actually give you the link to the study.
No, what you see in
Yes, that's how that works.
I've let
when I
you
say
finish.
NICE and you look at NHS, and then you look at Mayo where it says might.
Great. All
That's
right.
how that works.
Can I answer now?
Answer what? We know you weren't looking at any
Don't
study.
make me
No,
don't make me fucking mute you. Just let me get my answer out. You've said I've let you say what you have to say 5 times now. I'm not looking at the studies. I'm
Yes,
looking
of course you're not.
I'm looking at what the Mayo Clinic concluded from reading
Where they say
that
might.
from reading that study, and the study cites 70%. And so Mayo Clinic, in doing a synopsis, says it might, because it's not guaranteed, because
Might.
it's 70%.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed because the research doesn't
Yeah,
support
no
it.
shit, dude. Everybody knows that. But again, you don't
Yes,
apply this standard
then,
across.
then why are
but
we
you don't-
fast
because
forwarding
you
these
don't
kids into medicalization?
Because you don't assign this across. You don't assign this across the medical world. You only use this
Of course you
level
don't.
of
You treat
You only use
treat
this
problems
level of
differently.
evidence. You only use this level of evidence when you're being transphobic.
Now you're mind reading. You're not arguing anything. You're mind reading.
Dude,
You're
you
arguing
haven't
with a
argued.
straw
You haven't
man here.
argued anything this whole time. I've literally
Well, no, I
cited
have.
source
You
after
just want
source
to
after
you just want
source.
to attribute a belief to
No.
me and then argue against that.
You can
That's
have the
why you
last
keep
word.
focusing
Go
on the
ahead.
harms.
Go ahead, bud.
Oh, I am going ahead. You keep wanting to tell me I've claimed that there's a harm, and I haven't. Back to your question that you were demanding an answer to, suicidality. We also have to look at the quality of that research too. And when you rely on surveys, take the Trevor Project. The Trevor Project is the one that is mostly referred to or appealed to by folks in your chat, mainstream media. It's entirely survey-based, where participants are solicited, right, to participate, and that's why no one pays attention to it, because it's invalid, it's illegitimate. And when you have actual real studies on suicidality, you find that
Where's
the
the
rate
real
doesn't
study?
change
What
very
study
much
would
at
I
all.
look at? What's the
I don't
real
have it up.
what's the
I
real
will drop it
what's
into
the real
Discord
study?
for you.
No, but certainly you know. What's the real study?
No, I don't have the.
Oh, you
name
don't
of
have
it
a
off the
study.
top of
So
my
just
head.
when you look at real studies that I can't name right now, do you see the problem with your
Oh,
whole
no.
argument? Your entire argument
No,
is just
there's not a
your
problem with my
entire
argument.
argument
It's a
is just
problem that I
pointing
don't
at things
recall it
and
instantly
saying
for
those
you.
things are bad. That's your entire argument. Just say that's bad, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad. That's your entire argument, because you're just transphobic. You can't back up any of these claims whatsoever. You've been unable to back up a single thing that you've said. You just said, when they study, okay, what study? You named the nice study earlier. What's this study that you're talking about now?
I have to go find the link for you.
I'll go get it.
What do you?
Yeah, I'll wait.
You'll.
Yeah, I'll wait.
I can't guarantee I'll have it for you in like 3 seconds.
That's all right.
So in the meantime.
No, not in the meantime.
so-
Go find the study.
Or what you are.
I've now muted you, and so you got to go find the study. We'll wait. Let me read some comments while he's finding that study. Jen asked me about Venmo. I don't know if my Venmo is not working. I apologize if somebody sent Venmo. It's not coming through. Tony says FEMA will save West Virginia. Oh, wait, never mind. Jamar says JG was such a fucking imbecile. Agree with that. Snitch Lord just turned me lesbian, pretty sure. That's tough. That's a tough one to hear. You never want to hear that. Let's see here on the... Britt said trans kids 82% considered unaliving themselves, 40% attempted. Cookie Nib says puberty blockers are not used to treat gender dysphoria. It's to slow down and stop puberty in severe cases for harm reduction. He's not reading the studies. Yeah, that's what they were saying in the study, though. They're saying that puberty blockers aren't necessarily like a treatment for gender dysphoria. That is what it concludes, but it doesn't conclude that puberty blockers don't have a net benefit. So yeah. You're right on that one. Joyful says, guest an ableist, misogynistic pig. He only cares for himself and does not care about anybody but himself. In my opinion, this is eugenics. Thank you, Joyful One. Charles, thank you very much. Robin, thank you. Kettleman says, is Twitch Lord Clint? I don't know. I haven't heard. Are you Clint?
I moved. I jarred BC for a second.
Oh, okay.
I figured I'd be jarring now. Since Clint was very obsessed with trans people, and it sounds like it's possible. But yeah, that you can ask me to go back. Just wanted to remind everybody, top left-hand corner is the gift goal. Jay's reading off some messages. Looks like Venmo is down for right now. I tried to send a test and it didn't go through. Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats on YouTube. Please subscribe to either channel. We appreciate it. If you want an invite to Discord, any mod can get you an invite link, or you can DM me directly, Jen, JENN. WDUBB, the number 1. And I can send you a link. Also, we're adding a new feature to our Instagram. If you want to go check out our Instagram, we're adding some memes here that we've got going on. So if you guys want to go check out, please, if you haven't followed us over on Instagram, please do that also. All those links are in the link tree in both of the respective bios. Yeah. What's the difference between jelly and jam?
Go ahead. I know this one.
No, it's a different one. You can't jelly a clown into an automobile.
No, you're right. I did not know that one.
No, you didn't know that one. I switched up. Oh, it looks like he left.
Oh, no surprise there.
Oh, I'm dead. Well, I'm so sad. Oh.
Mute him in the comments if he wants to come back.
Oh no, he's been muted since the beginning. I muted him a while ago.
All right, cool. Yeah, I guess we didn't want to provide that study. All right, well, welcome back. It always boils down to that. It sucks that we don't have these conversations more publicly, and I wish that we did. But I don't think you should allow yourselves to be put on the defensive for this. Nobody on our side of the aisle, nobody is advocating that kids just willy-nilly should be put on puberty blockers. No matter what condition my child had that required puberty blockers or puberty blockers was suggested, it's not something you should take lightly, and nobody's taking it lightly. It's just that's how the conservatives have to frame the argument in order to hide from their bigotry. I look forward to my DMs there, Beaverton. We can talk while I look or not at all. Wow, run like a cat. You ran. He's calling me a runner. You left the fucking VC, dude. You left the VC while we were waiting for it. You're welcome to come back and jump in the VC if you want. Britt said, study unaliving among transgender youth 2022. Britt, do you have that? You can send it to me. If you want to send it highlighted, let me know. I'll cite that study. Let's get back to the show, though. You derailed long enough. All right. Through there. All right. This was a story I saw this morning. I think it's from this weekend. Over the weekend, Trump has decided to shut down a U.S. military base in Greece. This is in Alexandropoli. I'm going to get made fun of for that. The base has been a key logistical hub for U.S. and NATO operations in southeastern Europe. Its presence has been a point of contention, particularly with Turkey, which has long opposed U.S. military operations in the region. According to Greek media, Trump's decision to dismantle the military presence came after a joint request from Putin and Erdogan from Turkey. That's his name, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. I've never heard it before. Greek press reports highlight that the closure is seen as a strategic loss for Greece, which has strengthened military ties with the U.S. in recent years. The Alexandropoli base played a role in regional security and military logistics, particularly among supporting NATO's presence in Eastern Europe. Trump administration is yet to publicly comment on the reports, and it remains unclear whether the decision will be permanent or part of a broader realignment of U.S. military assets. I mean, we're doing a shakedown in Europe. We're telling them, like, concede to Putin and we're getting out of here. And knowing that they are going to fight back against Putin. It's what they're going to do. And so it's a United States way of being able to back out of this. Tanya says, thanks for defending the trans community. Honestly, I'm not. Like, I love everybody equally. I would defend anybody specifically, but like, somebody's got to show me the harm at some point. I've heard study after study. I've watched those transphobic debates on TikTok a million times. I've watched them online. I've tried to understand it the best I can. And the one unifying reason that I keep coming back to the same conclusion is I've never once heard anybody show me that there is significant harm outside of the side effects that we already know about with those same exact drugs. That's it. That's as much as I've ever been able to get somebody to come up with. They never have anything. On the 3rd anniversary of the war starting in Ukraine, I think it was 15 world leaders came together to meet with Zelensky. Not us, but they shared this video, which was beautiful, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
You're muted.
Oh shit, sorry. This is, I don't know if this is the current prime minister of Norway or former, but this is Jens Stoltenberg. He said, "We did all we could to prevent Russia's invasion, but we could not give up Ukraine's right to be free. Ukraine's future is their own, but it's also in our hands. We must do all we can to support those who give all every day. Volodymyr, President Zelensky, my friend, Slava Ukraine." It's just the humanity shown by our allies, like, is stark. It really breaks my heart to know that as an American, the people across overseas, the people in Ukraine, look at this and they say, like, oh, Americans are disgusting. Like, Americans won't even side with us when somebody invades our country. Despite the promises they made to us, they're just going to abandon us. And I hate that I have to be looped in with that side with the Ukrainians, because this shitbag, dirtbag, wannabe dictator that's running our country right now is so beholden to Vladimir Putin that he's just like, yeah, fuck it. Just fuck it. Absolutely gutting. It's gutting, honestly. Did I have any more on Ukraine today? I think I have some more stuff in CPAC. I'll get to that when we cover CPAC here in a minute. This is a clip put together by Tennessee Holler. If you still have Twitter, by the way, and you don't follow Tennessee Holler, I highly recommend it. I think Tennessee Holler is also on TikTok, but I'm just not on there very much. he put together a clip of all the fired federal workers on the importance of the roles that they used to hold.
I'm Oleg Shmura.
I am Dr. Ben Andrew.
My name is Cody Anderson.
My name is Katie Sandlin.
My name is Andrew Lennox.
My name is Nick Hand. I'm Riley Ratcliffe.
My name is Jonathan Cammons. I oversaw cybersecurity for the VA.gov websites, and about a third of USGS, including me, were fired last week. Without people like me ensuring that VA.gov is secure, the private financial and healthcare data of Americans' veterans is at risk of being stolen, sold to the highest bidder, and used to harm people.
We are standing in Yosemite National Park. For the past 10 months, I was the custodial worker here. I picked diapers off the side of the road, toilet paper, beer bottles, cigarette butts, you name it, so you didn't have to see it.
And I served as the Chief of Safety and Emergency Management at the Philadelphia VA. This was a mission-critical role that ensured the health and safety of all those who entered into our facilities.
I used to be a NEPA coordinator for the Wrangell Ranger District of the USDA Forest Service, where I would coordinate environmental review for projects in and around the town of Wrangell, projects that are crucial to the town's economy and its people.
I moved from Alabama to Maryland to start my new job in genomics education and outreach at the National Institutes of Health. My job was to help educate students, teachers, and healthcare providers about genomics to improve patient care and develop the future scientific workforce.
I was a technologist at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau for about a year and a half before I was fired last week. We were the ones making sure that you could use payment.
Thank you. Somebody said this was from MSNBC. Thank you. I thought Tennessee Holler did it, but clearly you can see it was from MSNBC.
Apps without being constantly scammed, that your sensitive financial data wasn't being collected and shared with shady companies, and that your data wouldn't be leaked in a data breach.
As the only aquatic ecologist at the largest reservoir in the United States, my job was mostly to monitor for water quality for recreational uses, making sure that when people are out boating or swimming, that the water quality is sufficient to keep people healthy.
Is that Lake Powell? Is Lake Powell the largest reservoir in the United States? That looked like the area around Lake Powell.
After leaving the military, I wanted to continue serving my country, and I did so as an administrative officer at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Ann Arbor, Michigan. My job was to enable our medical providers, and that meant looking at the hundreds of doctors and the thousands of patients' schedules to make sure that nobody walked through those doors and was not treated. Make sure that we had all the
Are you saying Powell, Lake Powell?
Paperwork and credentialing to send those veterans home with the prescription medication that they needed. And we didn't waste a single taxpayer dollar.
I went into public service because I wanted to use my tech expertise to make an impact. A lot of the time, I was seeing a skill set like mine be used to make more money for big tech companies at the expense of everyday people. And I wanted to try to help level that playing field.
I went into public service because I'm passionate about helping others learn science and to also give back to a country that has given so much to me.
I joined the Park Service because I believe that the national parks are one of the best ways that we can share America with everyone.
I chose public service because my mother worked 30 years for the VA Medical Center in New Orleans. As a kid, I said one day I'll work at the VA.
I got into this job because I'm not in it for the money. I don't make that much money, but what I do believe in is the National Park Service and our mission to protect these beautiful and insanely unique monuments to the rest of the world.
If they offered me my job back tomorrow, I would take it, despite all the chaos and risk. The mission is still there, and I'm still ready to be a part of it.
We're not deep state actors. We're not faceless bureaucrats. I'm a veteran that wants to help veterans. That's why people join the federal service. They do it to help others and serve their country. This is the face of the federal agencies.
I think, first of all, if you're in the Discord, take that, share it. It's overwhelming. I think a lot of people have left Twitter for a reason that I understand. It's overwhelming the amount of stuff that hits us every single day. But this type of messaging works for everyday Americans. What fascists have not dealt with before is a truly free press, which you can't completely silence. The proliferation of social media makes it almost impossible to be silenced. I know in speaking to some bigger creators, a lot of them have exit plans. A lot of them have plans to go to safe places and then keep talking. And I do think that that's important. I do think that the free press needs to be discussing this, but also we've got to do our part and we've got to share this stuff. We're at a strange stage right now. We've just added Dan Bongino as the deputy director of the FBI. No FBI experience. He was I believe he was a beat cop, and then he was a member of Secret Service, and then a podcaster. He has a lot of wild ideas. He's a very violent human being. He fits well with Kash Patel. I'm going to give you a trigger warning here, especially those of you who have PTSD from January 6th. This is recently released douchebag, traitor, coward, bitch boy Enrique Tarrio, who loves calling people cowards despite the fact that during January 6th, he sat in the comfort of a hotel room while he encouraged people to go fight. And again, he sat there and did nothing because Enrique Tarrio, before anything else, is a bitch boy. Here he is at a hotel where it's Fanone, right? Did I get that name right? Yeah, Fanone. I don't know if it's Fanone. Sorry, I'm bad with the pronunciation. But Michael Fanone was going to speak at an event that was happening at the same time as CPAC called... I can't remember what it's called now. I thought for sure I'd remember it, and I forgot. Anyways, and Enrique Tarrio was waiting for him, and Enrique Tarrio followed him, screaming at him through this lobby.
You guys were brave.
You guys are assholes, so please just back off.
You know who's an asshole? Somebody that sits in my sentencing and laughs while I get sentenced to 22 years. That's an asshole. You were brave on Twitter, and your buddy was brave on my sentencing, and he was laughing when I got 22 years. And now you don't even want to look my way, you pretend I'm not here, right? Yeah, keep it walking.
You know, it's interesting what he does. Like, he's like, I'm so tough. Yeah, keep walking. Are you stepping up? Enrique, is all 5'4" of you stepping up to fight? You were in a hotel room. Now he wants to be tough. He thinks this, Fanone clearly wants to beat his ass. And Fanone is being ushered out of the room by people. He's not being protected. Fanone wants to beat his ass. But either way, this is a convicted felon. This is a traitor to our country. This is someone who was convicted of seditious conspiracy. They wanted to do what they're doing now. They wanted to create enough instability, and they had already started working on Schedule F. They were trying to take over the administrative state. They were early. And people like Mike Fanone are the reason that we aren't living in a fascist dictatorship right now. He's an absolute hero. I can't believe he kept composed this long. If it was me, I would have snapped a long time before this, but keep going.
Come on, go.
By the way, that's a police officer. He showed up to defend the Capitol, and they beat the shit out of him. He showed up for work to be a police officer, back the blue. And Enrique Tarrio's upset because he was happy when Enrique Tarrio went to jail. Because Enrique Tarrio, like the bitch boy that he is, sicked a mob of people who were far more brave than him on Michael Fanone. And Michael Fanone stood there and fought, and eventually it was 10v1, and he begged for his life on the ground while he was being beat with an American flag and kicked in the ribs, in the head, in the arms. These people did that, and they show up with cameras like Michael Fanone is the bad guy. What fucking country do we live in? Honest to God, what fucking country do we live in where Michael Fanone can be viewed as the bad guy?
You guys are traitors. Just back off.
This is certainly fun. What did you say?
You guys are brave on the sentencing. You sat there, you laughed while I got 22 fucking years. Now you don't even want to look in my eyes. You fucking coward. You were a coward that day. You were a coward after.
Just go home. Just go home. You're a traitor to this country.
Yeah, so are you.
You're a traitor to this country.
You're a fucking traitor, piece of shit. That's why they fired your ass, and that's why your own people turned on you, piece of shit. You and your fucking boy over here. You fucking failure. And the other one's another fucking failure. A little failure. Run from me, motherfucker. Run from me.
He's not staying in the hotel. He's trespassing.
You fucking piece of shit. Run from me.
Fuck you.
Oh, you can say that while you're over there, motherfucker. You didn't do shit.
bald-headed bitch. Fuck you.
Tourette's, man. You didn't do shit.
I want you to pay attention to this guy right here. I realize that's muted. This guy right here. He looks like he's part of them, and he's saying, come out. He's doing this.
Tourette's, man.
This guy's name... Right there. His name is Yvonne... what's his last name? Yvonne... Raiklin? I think it's Raiklin. His name is Yvonne Raiklin. This is the person that most people think it was the pipe bomber. There's pretty good evidence that he is. He's a Trump loyalist, and most people believe that this is the person who planted the bombs. Now, do we have proof of that? Like overwhelming proof? No. Weirdly, that proof has never been seen. But we do know this. Later on at this same event, which was the principal's first event, I got the name of it. This is Reed Howard, who was putting on the event, making an announcement to the attendees of the event.
Bomb threat from Enrique Chario, the leader of the Proud Boys, who was here yesterday harassing the families of Canone, Dunn, Hodges, the Capitol Police officers. He's a man who would have been in prison much more Donald Trump believed in him.
So he's announcing that at the event there was a bomb threat. Now he says from the Proud Boys. I don't know if that's true, so I'm not going to back that claim up. I think it's a good assumption. He says this is the bomb threat from the Proud Boys.
The police have secured the bottom floor, and we are going to continue with our summit. And I'll have more to say about this downstairs. But the hotel security, our private security, ensures the building has been secure. It is safe to continue. And so when you have a chance, we can now make our way back down to the bottom floor, and we'll continue.
Tex, who's being sued for defamation because it wasn't Enrique? I don't know. On the bomb threat? All right, yeah. They did say... Why are you defending literally the shittiest people all the time? You pretend that you pretend that you have you're just trying to get the truth, but the stuff that you focus on is crazy. How do you know it wasn't Enrique? How do you know that? You could do what I said and say I don't know. Here is the bomb threat. Here's what it actually says, and I tend to agree. Maybe it's not Enrique because so many of these words are spelled correctly that it can't be a moron like Enrique Tarrio. To honor the J6 hostages recently released by Emperor Trump, which is fucking weird. I do think this is it sounds like there wasn't actual bombs. I don't know. I don't have the details on that. I've constructed 4 pipe bombs out of 1 1/8-inch threaded galvanized pipes, caps, kitchen timers, wires, metal clips, homemade black powder. I placed one inside a room I rented at JW Marriott at 1331 Pennsylvania Avenue. So I guess, do we have a name? We should have a name at some point then if he had a room rented. Shoved another pipe down the toilet. Mark Cuban, Chris Christie, John Bolton, George Conway, J. Michael Ludwig, Kinzinger, Michael Steele, Jeff Duncan, Bill Kristol, Slur for gay people, Frank Figliuzzi, Glenn Kirshner, Stephen Richer, who is a phenomenal human being, and I didn't know that. I need to give him a call. I did not know he was even there. Norm Eisen and Michael Fanone all deserve to die. In that spirit, the third device has been placed inside Michael Fanone's mother's mailbox cites the address, which is rigged to explode when the mailbox opens. Currently, I'm nearby John Bolton's home, which I assume this is the address. By the time you've read this email, the final device will have been deposited inside of his mailbox. To my family, I simply did what needed to be done. MAGA. What the fuck are these people fighting for? Honestly, what are you guys fighting for? I did what had to be done. You had to be because people are talking right now. People are talking about January 6th people. That's what had to be done. Those people needed to die because they're pointing out that you guys stormed the Capitol, which you did, which then you, by the way, while you were in prison, all of those MAGA people, they couldn't defend you, so they lied about you. They said that you were FBI informants. And then you got pardons, which doesn't make sense if you're FBI informants. So they lied about you the whole time. They didn't want to defend you. They want nothing to do with you. That's why you got kicked out of CPAC. You've always been patsies. Like, all these people are just patsies used by people like Enrique Tarrio. They use bodies because they don't want to be in the fight themselves. They are all cowards. Every last one of them is a coward. Enrique Tarrio doesn't show up. And when he finally does go, and he finally does decide that he's going to stand up and he's going to fight somebody and he's going to use physical force, so look who he uses physical force on.
Supporting the guys in the DC Gulag?
No, definitely not supporting them. I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. Uh-oh.
I'd like to press this on.
And now this bitch is under arrest. Why? Because he hit a woman. Because he knocked a phone out of the woman's hands. He's real tough when it's a woman. Real tough. Here he goes arrested again. And let's see what happens. Let's see if those charges go through.
Oh shit. Enrique Tarrio's getting arrested. Back up. Back up. I absolutely would like to press charges. I absolutely want to press charges. My hands hurt now too. Absolutely want to press charges. And
I wonder why charges aren't pressed there. I wonder. Let's see. This is from 2 days ago. Tarrio was released from prison last month. Let's see. He was handcuffed, searched, and put in a police van by U.S. Capitol Police after he appeared on Capitol Hill with several other members of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. The lady stuck her phone in my face, so I hit her phone. Later that night, Tarrio appeared outside the conservative CPAC and said police had released him. Was he not allowed in CPAC? Are they not letting him in? Police saw the video and saw there was contact from her to me. Yeah, cool. Fine, don't have charges. Toughen up. You got to hit a phone out of a woman's arms. You're that upset? He's such a thin-skinned little bitch in text. It's embarrassing that you are constantly like on this side of it. Big tough guy, right? There were a lot of phones near him in that last interaction. How come he didn't fight then? Oh, because he's 5'4" and everybody there would beat his ass. But when it's a woman, suddenly he's like, oh, I'm going to get real physical now. Yeah. Not allowed in CPAC. Interesting. Interesting how the conservatives don't want anything to do with them, isn't it? Here is CPAC. And look, go get your barf bags. This is Jack Posobiec. Defend it. Defend this.
Donald Trump is not violating the Constitution. Donald Trump is restoring the American Constitution.
Actually, real quick, before I start that, Alicia says, happy Monday. All the bad news in the U.S. is at least having some unifying effects in Canada. 100,000 Canadians just signed a petition. Sorry, it's loading. In the House of Commons to have Elon Musk's dual citizenship revoked. And Pierre Poilievre, how do you say it? Poilievre. His lead keeps slipping. We are working hard to stop Musk messing with us here. Thank you. Tracy said, hey, Daddy. What's up, Tracy? And Katrina, thank you. That was very generous. So thank you so much, Zaddy, for all that you do. I appreciate that. I think Venmo's still down. Looks like. I don't know. I don't have any notification from Venmo, but this does happen every once in a while. Yeah, my Venmo's not working currently. I'm very sorry. So if you've had stuff... let me look at the notifications one more time and see if they've sent me anything. I looked through my email. I may have to update some tax documents. I'm not sure. I do have a notice saying that there's new tax documents available. All right, so here's Jack Posobiec telling CPAC, just like, here's how we're kicking things off. Donald Trump is king. We are no longer in a democracy. By the way, this is a person who at CPAC last year and CPAC the year before and has said repeatedly. In fact, let's see if I can find it. Has said that democracy is dead. And that we're replacing it with Christian nationalism. Let's see if I can find this clip. So before we get some of whatever's left of MAGA here being like, oh, he's just joking around. Let me see if I can find his old one. Here it is.
I just wanted to say, look, welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here.
That's a cross.
Replace it with this right here. Amen.
That was a cross. Right. So before we say like this is just joking, like he's been saying this for years, and here he is at CPAC.
Donald Trump is not violating the Constitution. Donald Trump is restoring the American Constitution. Donald Trump is the living embodiment of the American Constitution. Donald Trump is embodying the values of our founding fathers for the first time in a long time in Washington, D.C.
Mute text for 5 minutes for being fucking dumb. You deserve this for saying this is satire.
President Trump came up and he found the destiny.
This is where you need it. This is the most like homoerotic Donald Trump fan fiction I've ever seen in my life. First of all, he's saying that they replaced the Constitution with Trump. Trump is the Constitution. Everything he does is fine. And then this.
President Trump came up and he found the destiny of the American people lying in the gutter. And he picked it up with his bare hands and he yelled, "Fight, fight, fight."
That's weird. That's so fucking weird. That's more weird than, like, we used to say shit like this about Joseph Smith. We used to say shit like this about our prophet. It's fucking weird. This is very North Korea. This is weird. America was in the gutter. Trump picked it up lovingly and said, "Fight, fight, fight." This dude's just begging to get Trump to fight, fight, fight all over his face.
And the American people delivered their mandate to him and put it on his head. And as President Trump himself said just a few days ago, a man who saves his nation violates no law. That is the way forward in America.
That's fascism. They're just saying it. You can't say it's not fascism anymore. I'm not hearing it anymore. We're not doing it anymore. It just is. People are cheering. Nobody's stopping them. What do you do with fascism? You run like these propaganda campaigns. You turn somebody into a king. Here's a story from Rolling Stone. Let's see if this pulls up here. Yeah, how is this real life? Because Republicans are fucking dumb. That's why. And they're so desperate to win and to have Jesus in charge that they've put Trump in charge while he pretends that it's Jesus. The Department of Homeland Security has budgeted $200 million to run anti-immigrant ads in the United States and overseas that repeatedly thank President Trump for leading an immigration crackdown. Kristi Noem, the head of DHS, recalled Trump telling her after she was nominated, "I want you to do ads for the border. I want you to do those everywhere, not just in the United States, but I want them around the world. I want you to tell people not to come to this country if they're going to come here illegally." She said the president continued, "We're not going to let the media tell this story because the media will never tell the truth. We're going to run a marketing campaign to make sure the American people know the truth of what you're doing." Noem said that Trump instructed that he didn't want to be in the ads, himself telling her, "I want you in the ads, and I want your face in the ads, but I want the first ad. I want you to thank me. I want you to thank me for closing the border." She recalled, "I said, 'Yes, sir, I will thank you for closing the border.'" So if you notice in that ad, we thanked him for closing the border. He's running propaganda all over the world and saying, "Thank you." Is the border shut? I haven't heard that. As far as I know, the border is still open. As far as I know, you can still come across the border. As far as I know, no laws have been changed. We do have the military down there sitting around doing God knows what, fucking nothing. I don't know. Has anybody checked? Is he paying them combat pay? Is he paying the military combat pay there? Or are they just on regular wages? I'm not sure. I don't know if we have any National Guard members here. But does anybody know if he's getting I don't know if you call it combat pay or like deployment pay. You get paid differently when you're deployed. Because it's supposed to be like what one weekend a month, right? So you think deployment pay? Okay. Last time he did this, he did not pay them deployment pay because he's not allowed to because it's here in the United States. So I don't know what the payment situation is like. I don't know if they've fixed that or not. They haven't passed any laws for the border, taking credit for Biden's border. Yeah, exactly. It is active duty pay. Okay. Well, I'll trust you on that. If anybody has a source to double check that, you may want to. Eric Prince, who we've talked about before, but I feel like Eric Prince is one of the most like evil people in the world, and because he's been relatively quiet this time around, we don't talk about him much. This is the person who started Blackwater. He now lives in Saudi Arabia, and we have no idea what he's doing. We do know that he's purchasing weapons and weapon systems from other countries. He's bought like old missiles, he's bought old airplanes, helicopters, and then he retrofits them with weapons, which he's not allowed to do. So he has criminal charges in many other countries, but he has dual citizenship in the United States and Saudi Arabia, who, by the way, they funded 9/11. No big deal. No big deal. He's apparently doing private security. That's what I would guess he was doing. But because his companies are incorporated in Saudi Arabia, we have no visibility into what he's actually doing. He did sell Blackwater. But here's what he's saying is going to happen.
Blackwater provided security for American companies. Now you have the Wagner Group providing security for Chinese enterprises, especially in Africa. Who is going to provide security for American businesses going forward?
Part of the issue with USAID, and I would say an over-reliance on U.S. government everywhere, doing stuff, wasting an enormous amount of money and not being very effective at it, is it really crowded out the private sector from doing a lot of those creative solutions. And I think...
Let's talk about those creative solutions. Who funds these people? The government. So it's still government money, right? So what they do, all of these military contractors, Elon Musk, Eric Prince, they're all telling you how inefficient the government is. And we're going to turn this over to the private sector. Well, let's talk about how efficient the private sector is. When you leave the military, and let's say that you've been in special forces, and you go work for Eric Prince, do you think you're going to be paid more or less? Significantly more. Now, Eric Prince also is going to make a bunch of money off of those contracts too, because as the CEO, he needs to make money for that. Then you have like state-of-the-art equipment, and they're going to pay for that equipment. And then you're going to go on missions, and in those missions, you can kind of pick and choose whether or not you want to adhere by the rules of engagement. And Eric Prince's people historically have not. And Eric Prince's people have killed innocent women, men, and children, and they have been sentenced to prison for it. And then Donald Trump pardoned those people. So despite them killing innocent people, and they should be in prison, they were pardoned. They weren't members of our military. They were working for Eric Prince overseas, murdering people in the name of the United States, where we have no oversight. They are trying, listen, United States is resource heavy. It's people heavy. But Elon Musk and all of these folks are running out of shit to do. They're running out of government money. So they need to privatize functions of the government, which is going to be military contracts predominantly. So they're telling you, look over here, look at all this waste, look at all this waste. Hey, give me those military contracts. I need those military contracts. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Now you have the Wagner Group, who was doing work for Russia, doing work for China. You have Blackwater and groups like them who are staging coups, trying to assassinate specifically Maduro. Right, and going through Africa and using their mercenary groups in Africa to seize land. It's disgusting. And they're out here at CPAC, and they're celebrating this. They're celebrating privatizing our military.
The great thing about capitalism, if there's a demand signal, the private market will respond.
Those boys were tried 4 times. I don't know how many times they were tried. I know they were in prison. I know that. And I know I've seen the evidence, and it was overwhelming. I know that.
And as American companies do start to go abroad for energy, minerals, infrastructure projects, American private sector will be there right there with them.
Great.
What was that there?
Another question.
Hear that one more time.
Minerals will respond, and as American companies do start to go abroad for energy, minerals, infrastructure projects.
Energy, minerals, infrastructure project. Why are Americans going abroad for energy, minerals, and infrastructure projects? Because we don't want to do renewable energy, and they want AI to take over. They want to run the world using AI. So this is the mercenary, the people who want to own the world, who have said specifically they want to own the world and have their own countries. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance is on board with that, Curtis Yarvin, Mark Andreessen. They want private militaries like this so they can have their country, and then they'll pay private militaries to do their bidding. That's the plan. They're openly saying it at CPAC. They've been openly saying it for years. And for the love of God, could we get Republicans to wake the fuck up. They're just saying it now. Like, how are we supposed to combat this with Republicans if we like show it to them and they're like, oh yeah, they're doing that. Oh, okay. Okay, so we are globalists now? Is that what we're the globalists now? We're all new wars? We're doing all new wars now? But if it's a private military, we don't care? I don't know. I don't know about this. Admir, good to see you here. Good job. Good try on Friday night. I hope you have a good chunk of meat and some bread here with you.
American private sector will be there right there with them.
Great. Another question from Twitter, please.
Ashmi says, if a synchronized swimmer drowns, do the rest of them drown too? I don't know the rules on that. Maybe. Linda says, Tex can fuck off along with Enrique Tarrio. Take that, Tex. Take that. Let's see. Yeah, I think Venmo's still down. That's wild. I think I got that. All right, let's adjust here. All right, well, how much time we got? About an hour left, 91 away. Nice job, guys. Thank you so much for helping with the gift goal. Good timing, Jen.
Good time.
Let me go refill my cup, actually.
Good time that you mentioned about, a few texts. Just another reminder, we've got merch.
That's true. Let me go, Jen. I'm gonna go fill my cup while you go. Is that all right?
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep. Go. So yeah, just a reminder, we've got merch. So if you go, you're talking. I can't hear you if you're talking. Okay, I don't know if you're saying something. Anyways, we've got merch. We've got some funky texts. We've got a sticker. We've got magnets, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys want to check out in the link tree, we've got, like I said, merch. We've got we're adding some different things to our Instagram. We're adding some different fun memes, so you might want to check those out on all the different platforms that we're on. If you haven't already subscribed to us here on Twitch or onto YouTube, please do so. You can use your Amazon Prime subs, so you can use Jeff Bezos' money for Twitch. And then we've got 4 different levels of memberships over onto YouTube. So we're trying to get to 500 so we can get our RTB calendar. When I did the math earlier today, we were sitting at about 123 left. So once we get to 500 subs between the 2 platforms, we will be doing that calendar. Admir Jay's a little anti his face on some things. But we're working on some of it. We're trying to get him some.
There's my face on one of them with this logo, this little logo that's moving around right here. It's on some of the stuff.
Admir wants your face, is what he said. So
I bet Admir owes me an apology for saying JG was good faith. It's on Admir.
Well, he did say he was sorry.
I know he actually did. He did say it. I was just kidding.
I know. But Discord, if you guys want an invite to our Discord, and Molly can get you an invite. And so a man walks into a magic forest and tries to cut down a talking tree. You can't cut me down, the tree complains. I'm a talking tree. The man responds, you may be a talking tree, but you'll die a log. The dialogue.
It took me a second, actually. Die a log was good. And then dialogue, it works on. Yeah, that's good. That's the gift that keeps on giving. Good one, Jen. This is one of my favorite ones you've done in a while. I like that one.
It is. It's how you deliver it. It's
that was well done.
Say it. I mean, it's JG's dialogue was garbage. Maybe we should make him a stump. I don't know.
Boy, he'll dry you up in a hurry. All right. Anything else, Jen? My coffee was dumped out. Didn't have more coffee.
That's all.
All right. Thank you. I didn't see messages come through. This is more of Eric Prince talking about it. Now, remember, Eric Prince is basically why Pete Hegseth has the job as SecDef. Eric Prince wants somebody in there that will do what he wants, and it just works out for Trump too. Here's Eric Prince now talking about what we do about Mexico.
Mexican people really want to be rid of the cartels. The United States has invaded Mexico twice. 1845 and then around 1912-13 chasing Pancho Villa. I don't think we should do that at all, but I think by designating them terrorists, it unlocks a lot of surveillance capabilities, a lot of intelligence gathering.
By the way, that reminds me from part of our debate. I did find the article I was looking for during that debate. Part of that debate was I said that the gangs Tren de Agua and MS-13 were started in prisons. Tren de Agua in Venezuela, MS-13 here in America. And just so we're clear on what that happens, like MS-13, I believe it was just called MS at first. I think that was the name of the group. It was MS. They had like a small local gang affiliation. When they went into the U.S. prison system, when they started committing crimes and they wound up in the prison system, the Mexican mafia basically was like, no, we're going to crush you. And MS-13 merged with the Mexican mafia under the leadership initially of the Mexican mafia, and that's how they got connected to other prisons. So MS-13 went from being this small, like, local group of people committing crimes to a nationwide and then multinational gang. But that's where they come from. Like that's how these gangs get radicalized and get power. There is a lot of networking inside the prison system, especially when it comes to gangs. The bigger you get, the more you can network. So just a reminder that these groups that we want to go after, we created the groups. I mean, they did too. Like, I don't want to take that away from them. Like, they're committing crimes, but we create these groups in U.S. prisons, and then we have a drug problem that they want to supply because we've been overprescribing opiates forever. We do nothing to curb what Big Pharma does, and then we create a need here in the United States that really only exists in the United States on this level, and then we blame them. It's because that's what we do for everything. We blame everybody for coming here, for immigration. We blame everybody for our drug problem. Everything we do here in the United States, we love to blame on just non-white Christian people. And so now you're going to hear Eric Prince talk tough about what to do about these cartels.
By designating them terrorists, it unlocks a lot of surveillance capabilities, a lot of intelligence gathering, and certainly the ability for special operations units to do of, by, and through Mexican units. By
labeling them terrorists, we can now surveil Mexico. We now, because we've labeled them as terrorists, we get to go into Mexico and we get to surveil everybody, which is scary for anybody who thinks their exit plan might be Mexico.
To help really degrade these cartels' ability to terrorize the society.
So what you're saying is that we are going to bulk up the confidence of the Mexican forces, I guess, right?
Yeah, the federales, the federal police there are very corrupt. The state and local guys are very intimidated and cowed. They've actually had to use the Mexican.
They've taken massive steps to undo the corruption from the federales. And ironically, it happened when you got a less conservative president in there, and you had a shift by the Mexican nationals to say, like, hey, we're gonna move away from like this conservatism, and now you're seeing actual real work being done against the federales and the corruption within the federales. You're seeing crime rates are coming down. The amount of corruption by all accounts is coming down in Mexico, and I don't think they really like that. They like the instability.
Mexican Marine Corps as one of the only reliable forces against the cartels, and even they have problems. So again, having a true mentorship, providing significant technology to overmatch the cartels, hopefully helps degrade their ability to terrorize that society. But again,
let's say Eric Prince can do everything he wants to do. Okay, let's say that he's using drones and he's if people are crossing the border, he's intercepting them. Let's say he has all of that. He can do all of that. He can go out and he can target cartel leaders and he can take them out. If he takes out a cartel leader, what do we know from cartel leaders? Somebody replaces them. Unless you can wipe them out completely, somebody's going to replace them. And even if you do wipe them out completely, somebody is going to replace them. Why is somebody going to replace them? Is it because people want to be in gangs? Is it because people want to be drug traffickers? No, it's because of money. And there is a significant amount of money to be made in the United States if you can traffic drugs into the United States. It's significant. And people are like, some of that money, it's life-changing enough. Yeah, you'll risk going to jail forever. And then you create loyal foot soldiers, and those loyal foot soldiers will go to jail forever because they're just part of the family. Kind of like January 6th, right? Kind of like Donald Trump and his foot soldiers. There's a lot of people willing to commit crime for Donald Trump. A lot of them. A lot of people willing to die for Donald Trump. Some did. Ashley Babbitt did. There are people who are willing to take their own lives in the name of Donald Trump. They ruin their lives in the name of Donald Trump. This is how this shit always works. You take a powerful coward who talks tough, and then that powerful coward uses foot soldiers to get everything done, and they rake in the money. It's actually like, it's ironic that like we have our own cartels here. They're called Big Pharma. They're called the military industrial complex. And this guy, Eric Prince, is the biggest cheerleader of the military industrial complex that you will find in the world. Nobody loves the military industrial complex quite like Eric Prince, because the military industrial complex has made him billions of dollars. And it's taken him into places like Saudi Arabia, where he can offer private military experience to the Saudis. And who trained him? We did. We trained this person. The military industrial complex is the biggest cartel in the world. You don't believe it? We've literally trafficked drugs. We literally traffic arms. We've done it for decades. You talk about what was the one when Obama was running guns? What was that operation called? If anybody remembers it. Obviously, you have the CIA running guns to the Contras. You have them helping the people smuggle drugs into the United States, specifically into black neighborhoods. Like, this is a cartel. This is cartel on cartel crime. How is this any different? This is private military going into another country to war. This is just cartel versus cartel. Fast and Furious, thank you.
Part of the guilt is on America. We need to stop our own drug appetite, because that still flows through Mexico, and that illicit profit screws that society up.
You know, it's interesting.
It flows through Mexico? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, flows in and then out of Mexico. Okay, yeah.
Do you think that the Mexican forces can actually outfight the cartels? Because I get the impression the cartels are pretty good.
They're pretty good, but they've never met a JSOC level force.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like, they're pretty good, but we'll fucking kill them. All right. You know what crippled the cartel? Like, of all the things we've done, we've taken in private military, we've hired mercenaries. The Mexican government has tried to fight the cartels. We've tried to do a lot of things. You know what crippled the cartel the most in my state and in California? When we legalized marijuana. That crippled it. That was their product. You legalize those things, and they don't have a product anymore. And so a lot of those same cartels. Now, they raised hell in Mexico, but they went and they took over avocado farms because there was no market for marijuana anymore. When you have legalized marijuana in America, the cartels can't sell it. What if you had universal health care? You think that's gonna help? Some people get hooked on drugs not because they don't need those drugs, but because they can't afford them. So then they go on the street level and then they get hooked. And then they might get caught buying, and now they've got a criminal record, and now they can't get a real job, and they can't get a job that has benefits, so they're not going to be able to afford to get the medication that they need, and so they become, maybe they move to a life of crime, maybe they wind up being somebody who runs drugs, maybe they just wind up living in the streets addicted to drugs. We create all of these problems, and they've never met a JSOC level. Yeah, they haven't, but they've also never been up against universal health care. Why? Like, again, we're one of the few countries in the world that doesn't have universal health care. We've got a massive fucking drug problem. We're one of the few countries in the world that allows kickbacks from drug companies to doctors. We're one of the few countries in the world that allows you to advertise dangerous drugs on television, where and there are street drugs that either mimic that or are a street brand version of it coming in across our border every single day. It's always might with these people. I don't understand why conservatives refuse to just do the best thing ever. They never want to do the best thing. They're obsessed with violence. They're obsessed with retribution, because conservatism, before anything, before any of their beliefs, their number one belief is never capitulate, never admit we're wrong, never admit you don't have a solution, because then you might have to change some of your views. Because that's the only argument against universal health care is socialism bad. Socialism is bad. In every other aspect, it's great. Other than if just you're afraid of the word socialism. Frankie, our world is upside down and slowly going sideways. What the fuck? Yeah, it's happening. Let me check other payment apps here real quick. Cam says, next break, plug your IG with our first meme. Oh, we got I do want to say that our research team has also branched into a marketing team. Cam, will you just send me the post so I don't have to pull up my Instagram? I don't know what Instagram necessarily looks like on here, but will you send that to Discord and I'll show people? But you should, if you're not following us on Instagram, you'll see a bunch of new stuff coming out there soon. And it won't just be content of me. It'll be funny stuff. It'll be memes, shareable stuff. We want to make Johnny. We want to make sure that you guys have stuff to share too. So the team is going to be putting out topical stuff every day, so that we have shareable memes. As if that's the part of the fight that you want to join in bugging the shit out of people, we'd love to have you. I think that was it on comments. All right. Yeah, got it. All right. So we got $88 left in the gift goal. Let's see if we can knock that out before. I'm not going to update it because I want to use this last 35 minutes to get through as much as we possibly can. This is at CPAC. We'll get off Eric Prince now. This happened at CPAC. This is a booth. I don't know if any of you have been to, like, when I was a kid, my dad worked in the kitchen and bath industry. He invented like a hinge that allows a trifold mirror to flush mount to your wall with recessed cabinets. And I used to go to like these kitchen and bath shows in Las Vegas, and there was booths everywhere. That's kind of what CPAC is. And here's one of the booths that happened at CPAC.
Hello there, everyone. I am Shane Trejo. I am the campaign lead for the Third Term Project. So our stated goal is to ensure that President Trump can get the third term that we believe the public demands that he receive. Representative Andy Ogles of Tennessee.
It's literally Caesar. They're saying we got to make this guy king. Got to make him king. And they're talking about a third term, but they're literally putting him up as a king.
Tennessee has introduced a constitutional amendment that would amend the Constitution to allow President Trump to get a third term. Mark Avagno, a legal expert, will be explaining kind of the basis of how that works after I give my brief statement today. But we believe that the public needs a third term from President Trump. What he's doing already at warp speed with Doge and with making the government more efficient,
which is not happening. It's just not. Like most of the stuff they're saying that they've cut with Doge isn't actually happening. I've got some videos on that. This is a 3-minute and 45-second video. They'll go through the whole plan. It's a stupid plan. You can read Andy Ogle's bill. I don't think it's going to pass. I don't think it's getting anywhere. It doesn't seem to have any sort of real traction in Congress. But surprisingly, like, we're seeing pushback here. This is Poland's Andrzej Duda to meet with Donald Trump on Saturday. As it happened, the Polish president was to fly to Washington, making him the first European leader to be welcomed by Trump in the White House, according to Polish media. And then, where is this? Oh, paywall. Is it going to have it here? Wait, let me see if I can control F French. I'm looking for the French leader. Oh, there we go. After this clip, which I didn't really cover this because I think it's silly. They're obviously doing the Nazi salute, and you can argue whether or not they're doing it to troll people or because they're actual Nazis. I don't care. The fact that it's questionable tells you that these are the Nazis. But after this happened, a leader from Germany, or excuse me, France decided not. A far-right leader from France decided not to show up.
You can't. The only way we lose is if we quit. The only way we don't have victory if we surrender. The only way that they win is we retreat. And we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit. Fight, fight, fight. Amen.
Make what you want of it. Like, I understand they say maybe he's waving. In a freeze frame, you can find a freeze frame of Obama doing this, of Kamala Harris doing this, of Hillary doing this. You can freeze frame all of those. I will just say that it's
fight,
odd.
Fight.
It's odd for him to do that. It's an odd way. There wasn't really a reason for him to do that. He wasn't waving at somebody. It was odd that he did that. So whatever you want to make of it. Oh fuck. Go ahead. But that led to the French far right. I'm trying to remember their name. Now where did it go? There we go. The hell? Are they only making me do that part? There we go. French far-right reader Jordan Bardella has canceled his speech at the U.S. Conservative Political Action Conference after former Trump's aide Steve Bannon appeared to make a Nazi salute at the end of his speech. Bardella said that he made the decision in response to a gesture alluding to Nazi ideology. Yeah, they would know. The French might know. And everybody who's defending it is just doing it because they're Nazis. Truthfully, or they don't mind Nazis, or Nazis don't bother them. There was no reason to do that action. I've watched Steve Bannon speak a million times. I get a best case scenario, he was trolling, but even then, like, why would you troll that way? There's certain things like just why do that? Like there's very few things in this world historically that are more sick than Nazi ideology, and to use it as a way to troll people while you have self-avowed Nazis in the crowd. There are people in that crowd who consider themselves Nazis. It's not trolling when they're also there. You know what I mean? Like, did they think it's a Nazi salute? Of course they think it's a Nazi salute. They say it's a Nazi salute. The Nazis all think it's a Nazi salute. The far right from Europe, they all know it's a Nazi salute. Everybody seems to know it's a Nazi salute except for MAGA. MAGA seems to be the only ones that are like, I promise it's not Nazis, guys. You guys have been saying this forever. Jan Sixers, we mentioned, were not allowed to come in, but this did happen, which was fucking weird. I know this is late, but this is a chainsaw that was gifted by Javier Milei to Elon Musk. Elon Musk, who is clearly on... like doped up on ketamine, it goes off he's just bizarre. And now he's bragging about, like, look at me. Like, you have hype music, you've got a crowd that's celebrating about Elon Musk cutting people's jobs.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw!
Chainsaw!
That's perfect. All right. I love it. Mr. President, thank you so much. All right.
I've watched Elon Musk for years. He's dressing up in costumes now. Milei obviously dressing up in costumes. It's nice to have Milei here. I'm sure the people of Argentina are thrilled that right after their president ran a crypto pump and dump scheme with their money, where they lost roughly $100 million of the country's money. It's good to have him here gifting a chainsaw to Elon Musk. So weird.
Thank you, sir. Nice to meet you. I love it. We love it. We love it.
This is not normal behavior. I don't know if anybody thinks that. Here's Elon's just absolutely spaced out on ketamine here. He can't form sentences. For some reason, for the first time ever that I've seen, he's wearing dark sunglasses. He's got on his dark MAGA hat. He showed up in a costume. He's wearing cowboy boots now. Like, this is legitimately, I've said it before, but like if I get a pool noodle and go to the park and LARP with my friends and dress up in costumes, how's that any different than being a Republican? It's not any different whatsoever. Here's ketamine Ken here, just not saying anything. This is nobody would give a fuck what this guy said. Like, if MAGA wasn't a cult, everybody would think this was weird because he's not saying anything. But you add the music, you add the flair, you got the chainsaw, you got the costume, and suddenly when you add all these ancillary things, what he says, even though it doesn't mean anything, people feel it. It's the same reason that, like, when Christian churches in America started falling apart, when people stopped going to the Catholic Church, when people stopped going to Mormon Church, when they stopped going to Baptist Church or Pentecostal Church, whatever churches you might have, you saw like this sudden spring of non-denominational churches. And what did they do? They added a rock band. They had a light show. They had a barista in the middle. You come dress however you want, like come in your pajamas if you want. And then you didn't notice that the preacher's not actually saying anything. The preacher's just like kind of making up their shit to make you feel good, but you're seeing like all the other stuff. You're like, I feel good about this. I'm at church, but I'm also enjoying it, and the music is powerful. I'm feeling all these emotions, and then you don't notice that Elon Musk is saying nothing. Thanks, Charles. You'll LARP with me. I appreciate that.
Thanks. I love you too. I do love
By the way, sorry, one more thing. I just saw this. Palantir stock, weirdly, is down. What are we down now on Palantir stock? Let me look. I meant to bring that up earlier. Down. Oh, I don't know. It's got to be 15% now at this point. It's down from 102 down to $91. 10% today. It's down. So that's good to see.
Yeah. I mean, I really just wanted to do useful things, like basically build products, provide products and services that are good, and that I wasn't really like that interested in being political. It just like there was at a certain point no choice.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, can I ask you what on the same side of that coin?
How'd you get it? There was no choice. What do you mean there was no choice? What do you mean? I just want to build good products, and then I had no choice. Why? Why did you have no choice?
What's it like from going neutral to being vilified, largely vilified by the media? Like you're
what? No.
Yeah, bitch. That's why you have to put on a costume and wear sunglasses, because Elon Musk can talk about it all he wants, but it's getting to him. It's why he's doing the costume now. I can tell you somebody like Elon Musk is in the public eye in the way that nobody is. But like being in the public eye, like things get to you, things bother you. I've thought all weekend about how I said slaves owning slaves. I've thought about that all weekend because it's hard. Like when the things that you fuck up are public, even on a small level, like it was for me, like that shit's hard. It's getting to him. That's why he has to do all this other shit. That's why he's clearly upped his ketamine. That's why he's clearly putting on costumes. That's why he has a chainsaw. That's why he's acting so insane, is because this shit is getting to him. He's not capable of handling this.
Really?
I mean, you turn on some of these channels, brother. I mean, they're angry at you. Does it bother you at all? Does it get to you? Yeah.
I mean, when they're chanting for my death, I suppose that's a little.
Is that happened? Are people chanting for his death? I've never heard that.
Yeah. Not good.
But then, like, the song's not even that good, and it's like you call that a death chant? That's nothing. Please.
They've been singing a lot lately.
It's not even good music.
Yeah. There's a lot of music lately. It's not good music either. Yeah.
Yes.
I would say that watching what you're doing with Doge is just people love it. I mean, I've always looked at the government, and I've always looked at the government. And I've seen this big.
They have no idea what they love. I keep trying to ask MAGA, what do you like about this? Oh, we're cutting government. All right, what got cut? I don't know.
Big machine. And you just know that they waste because they don't care. There's more money coming, they don't care.
Yeah.
You're cutting all this out. Everybody in this country knows that the government is full of waste, fraud, and abuse. And you're doing the work, and the Americans love it. Watching their reaction politically to this, I can't believe how bad they are at responding to this. I don't know how you're going to sit there and scream and complain because they're cutting waste out of the government.
Because we're not. Nobody is. It's exhausting. It's honestly exhausting every single time you hear conservatives talk. If you ask questions, if everything is a straw man, it's easy to sound smart. How can liberals complain about cutting? We're not. Nobody's complaining about cutting. We're talking about where we're cutting. We're talking about some of the things that are being cut. We're talking about a lot of things that you're claiming you cut that you didn't cut. You're just removing line items, but that doesn't change the funding mechanism. In many cases, the money that has been allocated has already been spent, and you deleting a line item and saying this no longer exists doesn't mean that the money is back. It doesn't mean that the money wasn't spent. And because all of these programs are done basically with a continuing resolution or a new budget, all you're doing is delaying the next time that they're brought up again, but the money has already largely been spent. But if we were having a real discussion, if this was really about what's best for America, Elon Musk and other people who work in the government would be sitting down and saying, we need to make cuts. Where do we need to make cuts? And they would go after things like defense spending. They would go after things that matter. But no, they're just going after poor people. They're just going after the poorest among us. They're trying to steal from Medicare and Social Security now. Are we going to give Elon a tax break? Fuck yeah, we are. But are we going to steal from poor people? Fuck yeah, we are. And again, how does this benefit any of them? Zero times have I got an answer from a Republican when I said, how do any of the cuts Elon Musk benefit you? I'm still waiting for an answer. I have yet to hear an answer of how they are benefiting from anything any program that Elon Musk has, let's call it put on pause, because he can't really cancel anything. But let's call it put on pause. How has it benefited the American people? I'm still waiting on that answer.
Try to win another election. How do you try to win on that?
Well, at this point, I'm not sure how much of the left is even real.
Yeah.
You know?
How much?
That's what happens when you insulate yourself. It's real.
Propped up by our money, you know?
Yeah, like literally, you know, you see like these sort of fake rallies where there's like hardly any people, and the media will like frame it and like, you know, get all 6 people, you know, in the frame, but there's like nobody else is there. Like just it doesn't have popular support.
Straw man.
But there's.
Oops.
But then you learn that like there's hundreds of billions of dollars going to these so-called NGOs. And it's your tax dollars that are funding things that are fundamentally anti-American.
And they're propping up their narrative.
Yes.
A lot of that government money has been propping up a left that I don't think is as strong as they made it seem.
In fact, a massive amount.
None of it's propping up a narrative. That's the funny thing. Like these things that they go after, and they're like, oh, this is going to go after a trans opera. It wasn't our narrative. That was just an attempt of us working with other countries to create a more inclusive dialogue and helping other countries maybe talk about the stuff that we do. My ex, she went this weekend first time she'd been to a drag show. She had no idea what to expect. She came home, she's like, that was fucking cool. Like, it was entertaining, and they raised like thousands of dollars for cancer research. So that's a net win. That's a good thing. Everybody won there. Her and her friends who have never been around trans people, like, they're like, oh yeah, this is. I mean, drag. She said, I thought drag people were trans. I didn't know. She's like, here's one of the people who was drag. He's not trans. I was like, yeah, they're just little things that you don't know till you experience. But it's a way to create more inclusivity. That's what they're really upset about. But nothing that matters, nothing significant has been cut. They're not able to offset any of their tax breaks with any of the cutting that they've made so far. We've said it a million times. What they're going to do is they're going to push this budget out. The Republicans have a budget now, and they say we're going to cut taxes, and that means we're going to lose this revenue, but we're going to offset the lost revenue by cuts. They are nowhere near paying for the cuts. Nowhere near. They have no ability to pay for these cuts, and they're just going to pass them anyways because that's what Republicans do. They say we need to cut spending, we need to cut taxes, and then they just cut taxes and they don't cut enough spending. The deficit will explode, and it's getting harder and harder for me to not look at this administration and say, I think, like, are they just trying to take down the country? Is that the plan? Do they just want to start over? Because we're getting dangerously close to like a non-functional country. We're getting close. If they cut the shit they say they're going to cut, you're going to have millions of people who cannot feed themselves. Millions. And then what? Then are you going to do socialism? What do we do then? UBI? What's the plan?
Of your tax dollars is going to legacy media companies.
Tevin says we should have an RTP LARP in the park night. I love that. How much? 20 minutes left. Let's see if we can finish out that goal. Like I said, I trust you guys. There was 90. There's 80 left. We can knock that out.
Directly from the government.
The government wants to take over media.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, that's why we have X.
Yeah, and
that's why you spent $44 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money.
I mean,
the government is literally running all of their stuff through X now. Like yes, the government does want to take over media. This government, not Joe. But what did Joe Biden do to censor media? Nothing. Not one thing. OAN still exists. Newsmax still exists. Fox News still exists. And even during the time Joe Biden was president, when Fox, OAN, and Newsmax all had to spend millions, hundreds of millions of dollars because of the lies that they were telling the American people that they knew they were lying about, nobody even went after their credentials. Nobody. Nobody on the left has attacked the freedom of press, but the right consistently attacks the freedom of press. And then they just tell you, oh, we're not doing it, they are. And right-wingers are that dumb. Tex, you're that dumb, bud. I don't know what to tell you. You are that dumb. You can't keep letting people play you because they're rich.
More than it was probably worth, but there was a message.
Freedom is priceless.
Priceless. Yeah. Probably one of the most important investments this country's ever seen. If you got to protect the First Amendment, it's not much more important than that.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of criticism, and people said, well, that proves he's a huge idiot from a, like, look, he
By the way, I just want to point out that Elon Musk is censoring information this very week. Let's see if I can find. I don't remember now if I actually added it here. Let me see if I actually added it. Yeah. So this weekend, you had this guy named Greg Bluestein. He was reporting on all of the Republicans who were standing up, and I'm going to move on to that story now, so this will be a good segue. But Greg Bluestein was talking about Rich McCormick's town hall, and this was blowing up on Twitter because it was not going well for Rich McCormick. And then all of a sudden, about a couple hours in, this post started becoming unavailable. Now, Twitter's like, oh, we don't know what happened. We have no idea, but it just became unavailable during that entire time. And this is what Elon does consistently. In the moment, he will censor information, and then a day later, when it's no longer trending, then they'll let it out. Like, he's actively censoring information all the time. If you go on Twitter, you can see, like, Grok is calling it out. People are asking Grok, like, is our information being censored? And Grok's like, yeah, of course it is. Of course it's being, like, of course any animosity geared towards the right that Elon doesn't like is being suppressed. Like, Grok is tattling on Elon. It is not a free speech platform. That is for fucking sure. In fact, it's probably the least free speech platform in existence. But again, Republicans, if they're just told something, they're like, oh, it couldn't be the exact opposite. It is the least free speech platform that exists. It truly, truly is, because of the way that it aggregates and the way that it pushes certain speech. You can say whatever you want, but they can hide it. They can force out the opposite view really easy. Even if you made the better point, they'll force out the opposite view very easily. If you go to Elon Musk's, I think people ask Grok, who's the number one person who's disseminating misinformation, and Grok's like, oh, it's Elon. Elon is. Nobody pushes more false information than Elon Musk. But I do want to show this because Republicans are not fucking around. Let's start in Oklahoma. We'll probably go a few minutes over today. Let's see if we make sure we knock out that gift goal. But I want to show you Republicans standing up to Republicans, and in some cases, Democrats standing up to Republicans. This is Kevin Hearn, representative in Oklahoma, and here are his constituents very upset about what's happening in Ukraine. And Kevin Hearn and all these Republicans, the one thing you need to remember, and we got to keep saying it, they're cowards. All of them, they're cowards, they're pussies, they have no backbone. Their entire life have been told what to do, what to think, how to act, and that's how they became powerful in the Republican Party. The same party who hasn't changed its ideology in 50 years, the same party who's using the same bullshit, watered down, trickle-down economics talking points, the same group that's still talking about, what was that guy in Kansas, the curve, the Laffer curve. That guy got laughed out of Kansas. They made him to like ambassador to fucking Pluto because he was such an embarrassment. They've tried trickle-down economics. It doesn't work, and they still repeat it. That's how you get people like this who stand here confidently and are afraid to say say Donald Trump is wrong. They won't even say Donald Trump's wrong.
Do you support Ukraine or Russia?
Well, no, it's not easy, ma'am. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Thank you, Charles.
Is Zelensky a dictator, yes or no?
That part I have a problem with that statement, yes.
Okay. I'm not sure. I can't say I support Ukraine or Russia. That one's tricky. But he did say that Zelensky's not a dictator. That's good news.
Did Ukraine start the war?
Well, it's
thanks,
simple.
Cindy.
Did Ukraine start the war, yes or no? Did Ukraine start the war?
Let him answer. Let him answer me.
He won't. He's trying to hear the other lady speak because he doesn't want to answer that question. You can see what you can see. He keeps looking at that guy when he asks the question. He's like, please, for the love of God, let me answer a different question. Did Ukraine start the war? He's like, I want to hear what this lady says it said.
Well, ma'am, I will. Just hang on a second. Is that your question? Did they start the war?
That's part of it. I want to know where you stand
It's not part of
on
it.
Ukraine or Russia. We have been supporting Zelensky for years now. 3 years since Putin started this. Now we're isolating, or he is isolating America. He's calling names and all this. Where do you stand?
Let me just say this. This is not the tactic that I would use to try to solve the problem.
I think Donald Trump, his tactic may not, it's not my way. I'm not saying it's bad or good. It's just not my way. Here's Jay Obernolte in California. Again, I'm using Tennessee Holler. It's not their equipment. This is from Cab Who, but Tennessee Holler is a great aggregator if you want these types of videos. This is Town Hall in Yucca Valley, California.
California legislature, I was the vice chair of the budget committee for 5 years, and we had several years where a substantial portion of California state income tax came from one person, and that was Elon Musk.
Yeah. What's a substantial portion? And by the way, if that were true, which, look, it's harder to get out of California income tax than it would be federal income tax. I think the top, anybody in California, is it 12, 14%, something like that is the top tax bracket? So let's say that Elon Musk paid like a significant portion of the taxes. Yet that means he has a significant portion of the money because it's percentage based. So let's just say Elon paid, and this isn't true, but let's say he paid 50% of the taxes. That means one guy owns 50% of the wealth. How many people are in California? Is like 20 or 30 million, something like that, maybe more. Is it more than 30 million? One guy, his net worth everybody else combined?
That he is not paying tax is just flat out wrong.
Man, you're lying.
We don't have
You're lying.
problem. We're collecting lots of revenue.
We don't have a revenue problem.
The top 1% pay almost half of it. We have a spending problem.
They do this. This is so disingenuous when they say the richest among us are paying almost half the taxes. Yeah, bitch, because they have half the money. That's the fucking problem. That's the problem, is that they might pay half the taxes, but they have half the money. And somehow you've got a handful of people with half the money. That's the problem. When you say, we don't have a revenue problem, you do. And when you say, like, we have a spending problem, a lot of these things like Medicaid or SNAP or unemployment, I guess you would say VA, some of these expenditures are because people can't afford to live because too much money is flowing to the top. You want to get rid of people on SNAP. You want to get rid of people on Medicaid. You want to get rid of people who are using government assistance. Pay them more. Force them to be paid more. But the same party who's saying, oh, we've got a spending problem, doesn't want to push through simple, common sense, non-bullshit things like increasing the minimum wage, or saying, hey, you get to collectively organize. We don't need union busting states. Right to work states, ironically, the more right to work states go up, the more people who have right to work, the more we see wealth inequality. Imagine that. Imagine that. The problem we have is that you guys, Mr. Obernolte, and the Republicans in general, and this is where a frustration lies for me, and speaking with my friends, like, we just have a difference of opinion. No, we don't. We have a difference of reality. Trickle-down economics does not work, has not worked, will never work. It cannot work. It does not work. It would take Americans or whatever country you're in, it requires the richest among us to look at the poor, to look at the middle class, and make the right decision when distributing the wealth. We said, government, you're not in charge of distributing the wealth anymore. The rich are in charge of distributing the wealth now. The rich will determine who gets money and who doesn't get money. That's the difference. We have unelected, non-government bureaucrats who are choosing who gets the money. We do not have a difference of opinion. We have a difference in reality. The reality is that a handful of people dictate what we do in this country. A handful. When it comes to tax policy specifically. And they have bought and paid for all of these losers, whether directly or indirectly. They have all of these people who only get into, you can only be elected as a Republican if you say, I'm not going to tax rich people. Otherwise, you lose. You can't win a primary as a Republican saying, we're going to tax rich people more. So we have a fundamentally broken system where we're looking at a problem and we're like, hey, there's wealth inequality. And Republicans are like, I don't like trans people. Fuck. We tried. Can we talk about wealth inequality? Yeah, you just got to give rich people more taxes or less taxes, and then they'll trickle it down. They'll just keep trickling it down. It's good to see you, Gorilla. Good to see you. My favorite fan is here, Gorilla Radio. Everybody say hi to Gorilla Radio, who shows up every day to tell me I'm trash. You keep following me, bud. It's good to have you. Thank you, Sully, for the super chat.
I think you're giving statistics that don't mean anything, because what percentage did Elon Musk pay? What percentage of his income?
I don't know. What percentage did he pay? I don't know.
But I know when I was on the budget committee in the legislature that just Elon Musk made up a substantial portion of all the revenue.
All right, let's get past him. And good reminder, hashtag pay Nina. I like a troll who doesn't pay up their bets. Those are my favorite types of trolls. Shout out Nina, wherever you are. Here's Scott's Fitzgerald. Now, this is listed as facing the firing squad. I don't believe that. I believe that these are all fine elderly folks from Scott Fitzgerald. I forget where he's from. Does it say in here? I can't remember where Scott Fitzgerald's from. Here you go.
The DEI.
The end result of the fraud and abuse that has been discovered already.
In Wisconsin, constituents showered 2 Republican congressmen with boos in 2 contentious town halls. Elon Musk's role in the Trump White House was a concern.
Are you going to subpoena him at some point? Or after you're done with the budget or whatever, are you willing to use your subpoena power to say Musk,
Wisconsin,
come in here, stand in front of Congress and answer some hard questions?
Certainly the discussion in and around DOJ and with the probationary moves that have already been done, they're going to have to be scrutinized at some point.
I would like to know what you feel.
Are you gonna subpoena them? By the way, he's doing your job, Congress. At some point, we may look over his work, even though it's supposed to be our work. At some point, we may need to look over it.
In this issue of an unelected person having so much power.
I don't think Elon Musk, he doesn't have the power to do anything. The President Trump does not sign off.
Ukraine.
Except for he does, because these weren't Trump executive orders that were being sent down. Elon Musk was sending emails himself, and he was shutting down entire departments. Does Elon Musk have power? Yeah, bitch. There you go, Bree. See how I did that? I looped it in.
Also a topic of discussion, with Congressman Scott Fitzgerald disagreeing with President Trump's false claim that Ukraine started the war.
No, Ukraine didn't start the war.
Have you expressed your opinion to Trump?
To Donald Trump, no.
No.
Congressman Fitzgerald then pivoted to defend
because he's a pussy. That's why.
Defending Trump.
And I don't think that the president's goals are not what everybody wants, which is to end the war.
According to CNN affiliate WTMJ, no Trump supporters spoke up at Congressman Fitzgerald's town hall.
I did notice that repeatedly in all these town halls. And by the way, I've watched 60 of these videos. I have yet to see a single congressman come back when they ask about these cuts. None of them know any details. They have no clue. They're not providing details at all. Not one whatsoever. In fact, the only ones I've seen, they're like, there were condoms for Gaza. Like, they're 3 weeks behind on the misinformation. They're getting the information the same way that the rest of MAG is getting the information. They're just getting it from Elon. They have no clue what's going on. There's no oversight whatsoever. I want to, so that we're being fair here, I want to point out that Democrats are not immune. Here's Hakeem Jeffries, who decided that in the middle of all of this, he's going to go talk to Silicon Valley people and crypto people, and he's going to be one of the people. But remember, Hakeem Jeffries tells us God is on the throne, so you don't need to worry about it because God is on the throne. That's why it's okay for Hakeem Jeffries to show up and solicit money from big tech.
In our nation's journey.
Congressman Jeffries, I live in a community just like the one you represent. Our communities are suffering, and you have done nothing to help us. Listen to us. You are selling out our communities for the people that you were by your loyalty. We are suffering.
You're the problem.
You have done nothing to help us.
Brutally beat police.
Congressman Jeffries, how can
can you lecture us on democracy when it is the lukewarm, centrist, uninspiring policies of the Democrats that have led us to Trump? Our planet is literally burning. Our democracy is crumbling. And you are still taking money from fossil fuel corporations. You have sold our futures to mega donors in the billionaire class, and you can't even win a fucking election while you do it. How dare you? Will you stop taking fossil fuel money? Will you just stop taking fossil fuel money?
As you were saying.
Congressman Jeffries, I am 18 years old and you can stand on this stage and say that you are here for the people? Why is my home burning down and why are you taking money from fossil fuel companies? My friends are breathing toxic air who are living by fossil fuel plants and you are taking their money. Why can't you just take a no fossil fuel money pledge? Why?
Jeffries, we are in the fight for our life. The planet is burning and you are taking money from the people who are burning our planet. Off fossil fuels, Jeffrey, off fossil fuels.
Good. Good. Yell at our politicians too. Good. Even the Republican women are starting to get it. Here's a Republican woman who, I guess she read the SAVE Act.
And as of this moment, I'm a voter. The reason why I say as of this moment, because I'm also a married woman who took my husband's last name. This means that my birth certificate does not match my legal name. On January 9th, 2025, you joined as a sponsor of HR 22 SAVE Act. This means that me and 16...
By the way, as a sponsor, let's keep that in mind. This isn't something he just signed on to. I mean, he did, because that's how it works. He didn't read shit. But he's a sponsor. He's supposed to know what's in the bill.
9 million women like me who have taken their spouse's last name will not be eligible to vote. I want you to look me in the eye and tell me why you are trying to take away my right to vote.
It's a weird thing to smile at there. It's a weird thing to smile at there. I would probably, if I was advising, what's this guy's name again? Shit, what's his name? Is it McCormick? I think it's McCormick. Rich McCormick, I think. I wouldn't be smiling right now.
This bill is going to take away 69 million people's right to vote. I disagree.
I love that guy.
Every news outlet that is reporting on this are saying that it is going to make it incredibly difficult for any woman who has a married last name to vote. It is a voter suppression law that you signed on as a sponsor of, and I want to know why you're scared for me to vote.
They don't fucking know. This is what's being exposed. And it's not just being exposed with right-wingers. It's being exposed on the left too, but all across the board with right-wingers. The people that go and work in Congress, they don't know. They don't know what they're signing. They don't know what legislation they wrote. They just show up and they vote. And then when they're confronted like this, he's like, what are you even talking about? It's like, literally, like, have you read it? Like, when Fox News is agreeing that this is going to make it more difficult for women to vote, and you don't know that? Fox News doesn't even read bill. You know how hard it is to get Fox News to read a bill? And they read this one and they know and you don't know as the sponsor of the bill? This person should lose their job. If this, like, ironically, there's like, we have so much waste in the government. Yeah, fucking you, dude. You're waste. You don't know what's in the bill that you wrote? You guys are the highest paid. You guys you're cleaning up. You have no fucking clue. You just show up, you meet with donors, the Republicans hand you your talking points, you go out there, and you try and do it confidently. And these voters are just, they've had enough. They're like, we're not buying your bullshit. Like, we bought your bullshit forever. And hopefully this wakes them up to everything, specifically economically. But like, Republican voters are like, no. You can't, you can take away the right of some people to vote, but not me. You can't take my right to vote away.
You'll see that we were just down at an IT conference and a bipartisan approach to voter ID. Now, they actually have digital ID that we can do in the future that's going to solve a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. And this is a Democrat. Wait, no, this is a Democrat. I'm going to tell you what a Democrat solution.
There's not waste, fraud, and abuse in our electoral system. There's just not. There's not waste. There's not fraud. There's not abuse. There's very low levels of fraud. Very low. We catch them every time. There's almost none.
If I agree with, if you'll allow me. Is this a bipartisan issue or not? Do we want to come to a conclusion where we can agree to move on? Or do you just want to yell at me and call me names? If you want to do that, I can just stand back here and you can just yell at me.
That's a good idea.
But if you want to solve this problem, we can actually give everything.
Then he won't address the question. This is so shady politician shit. I worked with Democrats and we talked about voter ID and a digital voter ID. Doesn't change the fact that you signed this bill, that you sponsored this bill, and it's voter suppression. He doesn't know what's in his bill. That's the real key here. He has no clue what is in his own bill.
I'll just sit back here and just let you know.
McCormick, I hear what you're saying about a digital solution, but the SAVE Act that you are sponsoring requires a paper ballot. It requires a paper birth certificate. It requires you to show up in person. It takes away everything digital that you're talking about. It requires in-person voting registration with a birth certificate that matches your current legal last name. It is voter suppression. It is not a bipartisan solution.
He has no answer.
Mr. Kent Ackermont.
They're just moving on. They're just moving to the next one. Mr. Kent Avamont. Hey, Gorilla can go. Whoever wants to get him.
Please answer.
So, I'm happy to review what it says, but if I disagree with you, I don't think it says that.
I don't think it says. I don't think it says that. I'm not really sure, but I don't think it says that. I disagree with you.
You can yell all you want, or we can have a discussion, and you can come in and we can actually go over the line. Look, guys, here's the deal. I came here to have a discussion. I think a lot of you didn't come here in good faith to have a discussion.
Oh, yeah. It was you guys. You keep asking me questions I don't have answers to. I came here to talk generally, and you guys keep asking me questions, and I don't have the answers. And I don't think that's good faith.
The fact that I came here was because I knew there'd be about 75% of people that would have been happy, and I wanted to have a discussion about how we can get to the end point and solve some problems. I didn't have to come here. My staff didn't have to come here.
I didn't have to come here and face my constituents. Yeah, that's the problem. You guys never have to do this. It's rare that you do this. And the reason that you're doing this is because your office is flooded with calls. And it takes all of your Republican constituents to be upset before you'll actually show up. Yeah, you should have to do this. Every one of you should have to stand in front of us. But you don't because you're all baby back bitches.
It's your job.
How many calls we have?
It's your job.
And I continue to come back, and I'll continue to come back.
Because it's your job.
If you want to have a discussion, we can have a discussion. But this is about solving problems, not about just yelling at each other. Because once again, we don't convince each other by yelling. We convince each other by sitting down and figuring out how.
Now we're tone policing. Now we've because he hasn't answered a single question because he doesn't have one. He's like, guys, the real problem here is that we're not having a discussion. This is what MAGA did after the election too. When you call out the shit like, okay, this is fascism. Now they're like, well, this is why you lost. Maybe, but you're not engaging. You're not here for a discussion. You're tone policing now. You haven't answered a single fucking question yet. You're just tone policing. Now you're mad that people are upset that you won't answer questions? I don't know why you guys are so mad.
Okay, so this will be the last question, and then it'll be your closing remarks. Mr. David Jordan from Cumming, are you here?
Just not going to answer the question.
Mr. Jordan from Cumming.
There we go. All right. I know I'm over, but I'm going to keep going. I think we are close on that goal. I appreciate you guys. This one I just want to show. This is a woman who was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Now, the title here says she was sitting quietly minding her own business. That's not true. She had yelled out some things at a town hall, and then this happened to her.
Please get up or be escorted out.
And we're just taking care of the rabble.
Now, you will notice here, this is a sheriff. This is in Coeur d'Alene. I don't think the sheriff is over Coeur d'Alene. I think that is Coeur d'Alene PD. I've lived in Coeur d'Alene. I seem to remember Coeur d'Alene PD existing. This is the sheriff. Nobody knows who this guy is. You'll notice there's no badge. They do not identify themselves as police. They give orders without identifying themselves as police. At no point is any of these people going to identify themselves as a police officer. And if somebody tries to grab you and they don't identify themselves as a police officer, you are not obligated to comply with them. They do have to identify themselves, which they don't do here.
And eventually what's going to happen is everything's going to settle down and we'll get back to hearing the legislators. Because really, you didn't come here to listen to me. I just happen to have a nice loud voice and a big microphone. And I can talk over all of you. And I can just talk for on and on and on. And look at this. This little girl is afraid to leave. She spoke up, and now she doesn't want to suffer the consequences.
Listen to the guy that's like chiding her, though, if you're listening. I know we're paying attention to her. But he says, look at this little girl who spoke up, and now she doesn't want to deal with the consequences. Free speech much? We doing free speech now, Republicans? Is this free speech? Elected leaders, your constituents. This little girl, she spoke up, and now she doesn't want to deal with the consequences. I mean, look, I've lived in this area. This is not shocking out of Coeur d'Alene. It's not shocking to see the patriarchy hard at work here and white supremacy hard at work. It's a lot of white nationalists in Coeur d'Alene.
Isn't that the problem that we're struggling with so many of the kids today? Is they want to behave poorly and then not struggle with the consequences.
Now he's recording. Now, instead of engaging, is the one person we know who is law enforcement. Now, has not identified themselves, but enough people know that this is the sheriff, and he's wearing a hat, a sheriff. Nobody knows who these two people are, least of all this guy that just shows up. So now the sheriff, who is not, again, has not complied with the law, is calling over another person to escort her out, physically escort her out, and he's going to record it.
That is shameful. I think what we've got right now is a situation where these folks are trying to filibuster and shut this whole program down. Unfortunately,
she just keeps asking, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Nothing. He says you have to leave.
Successful. To all of you who came here to hear the legislators, I applaud you for sitting there and quietly listening. I promise we will get back to you. In the meantime, we've just got to be a little aggressive with some of these folks here. Look here. Oh, no, I shouldn't be removed. I should be allowed to cry and yell and scream. I should be able to allow to interrupt.
Yeah, you should be allowed to yell in a public setting. You should. And if you're going to be removed, it should be by law enforcement, not whoever the fuck that guy is.
Let's go. Don't touch her. This isn't the sheriff. Excuse me, Sheriff Norris. This gentleman is assaulting me.
You out
this
now.
Man is assaulting
you out
me.
now. Let's go.
This man is assaulting me. Is this
out
your
now.
deputy? Is this your deputy? No, don't fucking touch us. Is he a deputy? These are deputies. Who the fuck are these men?
So how about that?
Hey.
It's too bad that we have some 150-year-old Social Security recipients.
Someone has said she has a GoFundMe. Can you send it to Jen? I'll post it up here before we end. If she has a GoFundMe, let's help her out.
Just
cooperate, it'll be 100 times better.
Yeah, that's what they say to rape victims, you fucking piece of shit. You refuse to identify yourselves. Who are you? Who are you?
Now we've got cuffs.
Thank you for coming.
The last line there was, here's the problem. They didn't come here to listen. They came here to interrupt. Yeah, that's the fucking point. That's the fucking point with these Republicans. They think that they should just be listened to. I hold elective office, so you're supposed to listen to me. No, you're supposed to answer. You answer to us. Like, we're there. We're just flat out doing fucking fascism at this point. And luckily, in places like Idaho, it happens. But in most places around the world, even the local police aren't willing to get involved and break the law. Meanwhile, there are a handful of people standing up for him. And this man is an American hero. This is Sean Fain. And I want you to hear the difference between what somebody who is standing for the American people and somebody who's standing for Donald Trump sounds like, and the audience difference.
In this party that can't decide who the fuck they want to represent.
And while his counterpart Sean O'Brien goes all across Fox News and he starts saying dumb shit like, "Oh, well, maybe we should just ignore the right to work requirements. Maybe we should just let the right to work states do the right to work thing." While he doesn't do anything for the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien and a couple other Democrats are standing up and they're being loud. And for those that aren't standing up and being loud, like Hakeem Jeffries, I hope that everywhere he goes, he is met with this type of criticism. I hope everywhere they go. I'm not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of this type of disruption. I'm not a fan of politicians not being able to speak. I'm not a fan of disrupting all these events. But when the politicians that you're asking questions to won't answer the questions, they won't do it on cable news, they won't do it through letters, they won't do it through phones, they won't go out and hold a press conference, they won't answer any of the questions. When they refuse to answer to the American people have to go to them. And I think that this is incredible stuff that we're seeing by brave Americans all over the country. And I hope that it inspires some of you to go find an event near you. Here is justice for Dr. Teresa Borenpol. Fight for the first. $129,000 has been raised. She said on Saturday, February 22nd, citizens gathered at a town hall in Kootenai County, Idaho, to speak with. That's how you know I lived there. It's Kootenai. See how quick? See how smooth. To speak with elected members for the Idaho legislature about important issues affecting their community. What should have been a peaceful and productive event where people exercised their right to voice concerns quickly turned into a violation of Dr. Teresa Borenpol's constitutional rights. In a shocking and unlawful turn of events, Dr. Borenpol was detained by an unmarked paramilitary squad, an unknown and unnamed group of individuals with no clear authority or justification for their actions. What's even more alarming is that the local sheriff, who instead of protecting Dr. Borenpol, stood by and filmed the incident on his phone after encouraging her violent removal. This detainment wasn't just an unfortunate moment. It was an illegal violation of Dr. Borenpol's rights. She was denied her freedom of assembly, her freedom of speech, and most importantly, her right to be free from unlawful detention. This is not just an isolated event. It is a chilling reminder, even in the United States, our civil liberties can be stripped away without warning. Dr. Borenpol is now taking a stand to ensure this injustice does not go unchecked. She's committed to holding those responsible accountable and fighting for the protection of our fundamental rights. But to do so, she needs your help. That's for the legal protection or the legal counsel there. Obviously, over $120,000 raised, almost $130,000 there. I do know this. I do know that in that part of northern Idaho, we have had many white. I forget his name. We have white nationalists that are up there, and they're openly admitting that they're bribing police officers, that they're bribing people to allow them to get away with stuff so that when they go after LGBTQ parades, pride parades, if there's flags, if there's anything BLM, they get to destroy it without repercussion. They've absolutely been terrorizing that area, and I hope she wins her case, and I hope she sues the ever-living fuck out of Coeur d'Alene, which is one of the most beautiful places on earth, and it's a goddamn shame that it's filled with so many white supremacists. It really is. It's a goddamn shame about that whole area. It's one of the most beautiful patches of land on earth, and it's run almost exclusively by white supremacists. So that's all I had for today. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Jen, do you have any announcements before we go? Don't think so. I don't think so. Sounds like we're good. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow morning, every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here on YouTube and on Twitch. If you missed any of the show today, you can catch the replay on YouTube. Make sure that you're following us on Instagram, Twitter if you have it, Blue Sky, Facebook.
You want to pull up the Instagram to show maybe one of the memes?
I want to just the meme. I don't want to pull up the Instagram. Let's see.
Okay.
I guess I can.
People where to go to
There it is. Yeah. So there's that's the profile. That's the meme they put up today, which is, I feel like it was an odd to me. We got the MAGA farmers votes for Trump. Why am I bankrupt? But there it is. It's official RTP Media, at official RTP Media. There we are on Instagram. You can find us there. Anything else, Jen?
Yeah. My boyfriend broke up with me because he said I was too mysterious. Or did he?
Come on, Chris. Not cool, Chris. All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here on Twitch and YouTube. And hopefully someday soon my ban on TikTok will end. But until then, we'll see you here. Stay cute and cool, and have a great, great, great summer.